These real people summoned evil demons that were scarier than the devil himself. The case of Kenneth Anger, the Hollywood occultist. Now, Kenneth Anger, an underground filmmaker in 1960s Hollywood, known for his films like Fireworks and Scorpio Rising, as well as his book Hollywood Babylon, was a self-proclaimed occultist, drawing inspiration from Aleister Crowley's Thelema and exploring themes of transgression and the dark side of Hollywood. He was actually quite obsessed with Aleister Crowley, who infamously called himself the B666. Anger wasn't just a fan, he followed Crowley's rituals, studied his books, and conducted real summoning ceremonies. Now, one of his closest collaborators, Bobby Beausoleil, claimed Anger attempted to summon the demon Lucifer during one of their ritual film shoots in the desert. Things spiraled. Beausoleil would later become part of the Manson family and commit assassinations. Crazy connection, I know. Anger himself descended into a strange madness, reportedly speaking in tongues, destroying his own films, and claiming to be possessed by demonic forces he had invited in. Whether you see it as madness, coincidence, or proof of something darker, Anger's life was never the same after those rituals. Anger's work is celebrated for its artistic vision, its exploration of transgressive themes, and its connection to the history of counterculture and the occult. The Exorcism of Anna Ecklund. Now, the girl who invited it in, Anna Ecklund, which was actually a pseudonym for Emma Schmidt, was a young American woman in the early 20th century who reportedly became possessed after experimenting with occult practices encouraged by her aunt, who was said to be practicing witchcraft. Now, this is an urban legend. Her 1928 exorcism in Iowa is one of the most thoroughly documented in the Catholic Church history. She alleged, demonic possession and exorcism occurred over several decades, culminating in an extensive exorcism that lasted from August 18th to December 23rd, 1928 in Erling, Iowa. Now, Ecklund was said to have exhibited symptoms, akin to possession beginning at age 14 and was 46 years old during her final exorcism by Father Theophilus Resinger, a Roman Catholic priest. Now, witnesses, claimed Anna levitated, spoke languages she had never learned, and exhibited unnatural strength. For 23 days, priests performed rites to banish what they said were multiple demons, including Beelzebub and Judas Iscariot. Now, according to records, Anna had tried to summon a spirit to communicate with her deceased mother. What she got was something else entirely. She survived, but never fully recovered. Her case was cited for decades as a warning against dabbling in summoning or spiritualism. Now, Ecklund's case is considered by theology and paranormal scholars to be one of the most abundantly documented cases of possession in the 20th century, including a profile in a 1936 issue of Time magazine. The Charlie Charlie Challenge. In 2015, a viral game called the Charlie Charlie Challenge swept the internet. Teenagers everywhere were placing pencils on paper and calling on Charlie, a supposed Mexican demon or spirit. Now, this game / internet urban legend of sudden and inexplicable popularity surged to the top of the global social media charts after kicking around on the Spanish language internet for much of eternity. Now, as of me even saying this right now, hashtag Charlie Charlie Challenge has been tweeted more than 1.6 million times. More people are Googling Charlie Charlie than virtually any other news event. Now, while it's hard to pin down an exact country of origin, Charlie Charlie has a long history as a schoolyard game in the Spanish-speaking world. Traditionally, this version with the cross pencils was called the Juego de la Lapicera, a term that still turns up lots of creepy stuff on Google, and Charlie Charlie was a distinct game played with colored pencils. At some point in their internet and playground travels, the two games seem to have merged. In either case, both have always had a demonic or supernatural connotations. One site calls La Picera the poor man's Ouija board. Now, most teens trying Charlie Charlie laughed it off as just harmless fun until one incident in the Dominican Republic. A group of students performed the challenge at school. One girl began screaming uncontrollably, claiming she couldn't move her body. Several several others fainted or started vomiting. Paramedics were called. Local authorities, declared a temporary school shutdown, saying the children were suffering from mass, hysteria. But priests were brought in as well. A few of the children were never the same after that. Some refused to sleep indoors, claiming something was watching them. One even attempted to take their own life weeks later, saying, "Charlie won't let me go." It was easy to dismiss at first, but the deeper you dig, the more similar reports you find across Latin America during that period. The Demon of Loftus. Now, this is the visitor that never left. The history of Loftus Hall, a large mansion house that's located along the Hook Peninsula, goes back through the centuries. The original hall was built in 1350 by the Redmond family during the time of the Black Death. Now, it was known as Redmond Hall until the 1650s, when it was given to English planters, the Loftus family, and from then on was known as Loftus Hall. Now, Loftus Hall is rumored to be, Ireland's most haunted house. The large country house is built on the site where the original Redmond Hall was once located. People believe that the hall was visited by the devil himself, but his presence is not the only one that wanders the halls of this impressive building. In the 18th century, in Ireland's Loftus Hall, a noble family received a very mysterious visitor. A storm, brought a well-dressed man to their door. He was polite, very handsome, charming, but one night while playing cards, Lady Anne Tottenham dropped one of her cards on the floor, and when she looked under the table, she saw the man's feet were not human, but hooves. She screamed, of course. He vanished in a flash of fire and smoke. Now, the family believed he was a demon she had accidentally summoned during private, seances that she held out of grief for her passed on lover. Now, Lady Anne was never the same. She became violent, was locked in a room, and she actually passed away in isolation. Now, visitors still say her ghost and the energy of that entity remains. Now, Loftus Hall is considered one of the most haunted places in Europe. The building, which stands today, was heavily renovated between 1872 and 1879 in preparation for a visit from Her Majesty Queen Victoria. The visit, though, never happened, and the Loftus family were left with huge debt following the major work carried out on the building. The last of the surviving Loftus family passed away back in 1890, and the bankrupt estate was actually put up for sale. In 2011, the house was sold to its current owners, the Quigley family. Now, the family have secured the structure and are, regenerating the walled gardens, the courtyard, and house to ensure the future of the Loftus Halls for the next generations. The Diary of Jake McKinnon, a Reddit ritual that went terribly wrong. In 2018, a Reddit user under the handle MCK_Jake posted a series of updates in the r-no sleep community about a summoning ritual he claimed to be trying. It started off as fiction, or so it seemed. He said he was following a grimoire, that he bought on the dark web, trying to summon a demon named Turan. The first few posts were funny, but then the tone shifted. He claimed the lights in his apartment would flicker, objects would move on their own, and he just couldn't sleep. In one video, you could see a shadowy figure pass behind him. Now, the final post said, "I messed up. I didn't bind it. I didn't follow the rules. I don't know how to send it back." Jake McKinnon's account went dark after that. A user tried to track him down through IP logs and emails, only to find the address linked to a police report about a man that was found passed away in his apartment surrounded by occult symbols. His face was said to be frozen in a look of terror. Now, to this day, some people claim the entity that he named Turan has shown up, in other rituals since. Many people debated his story and claims, though, because according to Etruscan mythology, Turan is a goddess, not a demon. She's the goddess of love, beauty, and fertility, often associated with the Greek goddess Aphrodite. She is frequently depicted as a young winged girl, embodying the grace and allure that, the Etruscans kind of revered. Now, whatever the case is, the story is creepy and concerning, and to this day, no one can seem to get a hold of Jake and know about his whereabouts,
It may come as a surprise that any case involving the Warrens would be included on a list like this. Yeah, that was sarcasm. We're all big fans of the famed demonologists around here, and what better way to start off a demon list than with some of the most well-known demon experts of all time. We don't talk about it often, but the case of Maurice Theriault is difficult to dismiss as a hoax. Usually, psychological explanations for bizarre behavior, exaggerated reports, and a tendency to believe in the supernatural would kind of make you skeptical about a story like this one. But then, you'll see the shocking footage of the Exorcism and change your mind. Frenchie, like like many alleged demonic possession victims, had a traumatic upbringing. He suffered long hours working on his family farm, dealing with his father's attitude, which became more and more violent towards his son as he became older. Frenchie began to ask for help, calling upon anybody who would offer assistance, even unknowingly asking Satan to help him. It was during this time that he witnessed something horrific in the farm's barn that is never explained fully, but it's hinted at enough. After that particularly horrific incident, Frenchie discovered that he had acquired otherworldly powers. He eventually left the farm and floated around New England for years, and in the spring of 1985, the town noticed something unusual going on with him. Humid redness would randomly appear in his home and on his body. He had increased strength and found that hidden knowledge was suddenly revealed to him. He also had the ability to be in several places at once. And yes, that was the most disturbing power that he had. It was decided that his case was one of possession, and Bishop Robert McKenna was called in and agreed to perform an exorcism. But during said exorcism, things got crazy, and not in the usual snarling and body contorting fashion. The slow morph of Maurice's face in the video of his exorcism is extremely disturbing, and the footage is only recommended for a mature audience, by the way. Off-screen, boil eruptions appeared on his skin, and even crosses appeared all over his body. But the clip that we have just oozes evil, and has convinced many skeptics that Frenchie was really possessed by a demon. Given that this case occurred in the mid-1980s, many years before the sophisticated CGI technology we have today, this footage might just be the creepiest unexplained event ever recorded. Sadly, 7 years later, Theriault, his wife, and then himself. His sister denounced the possession as a sham, saying he faked the tears and the speaking Latin backwards, but Lorraine Warren was like, it was no fake. Ed added, like, if it was mental illness or a fake, why did tables rise off the floor? We put him in a hospital for 6 weeks and the doctors couldn't explain it. This next Facebook video is perplexing, if not frightening. When you see the footage taken on Vivian Gomez's security camera, you're gonna find yourself saying what the heck along with her. So in the video that we have, you can see a short, kind of jovial figure, a scrawny frame on weak legs, gallivanting along with no reservations. This thing looks like a cross between an elf, a goblin, an alien, and a lot of folks have made comparisons to Dobby. I think that's the character's name from the Harry Potter series. So Vivian awoke one Sunday morning in 2019 and checked her monitor for any activity patterns from the night before, because gotta check your security cameras. And at first she saw a shadow falling across the front door near the camera that kind of got the figure, and moments later you saw the figure casually skipping around the driveway, doing what many spectators refer to as the chicken dance. The description included with the post states, so I woke up Sunday morning and saw this on my camera and I'm trying to figure out like what the heck. First I saw the shadow walking from my front door, then I saw this thing. Has anyone else seen this on their cameras? The other two cameras didn't pick it up for some reason. So the video, which has since been dubbed the Dobby video due to the figure's resemblance to the character that we mentioned earlier, has gone viral with over 180,000 shares and almost 16 million views on Facebook alone. According to an article in USA Today and several comments on the Facebook thread, some people suspect that the video might be doctored. Well, others say that maybe it was a puppet, but Gomez insists it's real. She's been quoted as saying, look, if anyone tested it or whatever they do, it would confirm it's not altered. Ghostly photos are pretty common on social media. Ditto for video. But then you look at Richard Christensen's undeniably unsettling media, and this was captured on January 1st, 2017 in Phoenix, Arizona. He's like, what the hell do you see in this for reals? Anybody? The post has since been deleted, but thank you Internet Archives. Well, he didn't take a guess at what he saw. The internet was all over it. His post prior to it being deleted had been shared like 90,000 times, had 10,000 comments. People were pretty active about this. It shows what appears to be either an evil angel or gargoyle strolling an empty street. And in the comments, a lot of folks were like, is this good? Is this bad? Is it angel? Is it demon? Some folks thought it might have been proof of the elusive Mothman. A few rational voices tried to speak up. They were like, hey, maybe it's a palm tree. But a lot of folks are like, no, this is something supernatural, possibly demonic. A video that has garnered over 2 million views has caught the attention of the mainstream media and paranormal skeptics. So in this next video, posted on YouTube by user Gamma Mori back in 2013, shows a man in a hoodie being attacked and dragged by a dark entity, possibly a ghost or a demon, in a hallway security camera. The poster says, I love how people claim the video is fake right away, just because they think that ghosts aren't real. Well, maybe the guy who was pushed down the video and dragged halfway down the hall didn't think ghosts were real until the encounter. Yes, we do have a couple of skeptics stepping forward being like, They're like, stop the video at exactly 49 seconds. You're gonna see he's detaching something from his leg. I'm 100% sure of it. Also, this is why the apparition doesn't have any reflection. The way he struts down the hall looks like acting. Like, have you never walked dramatically down a hallway? Thankfully, other people agree with me. One commenter said, I have seen plenty of these shadow people. I had one right in front of me the other day when I got out of the bath. Never been so scared. So take that, doubters. And finally for today, a Hawaiian runner said she was left with literal goosebumps after unknowingly encountering an alleged demon during a grueling race in Hawaii, as seen in a spine tingling video. She wrote in a blog post earlier this year saying, "To this day, we still don't know what it was." An avid runner since high school, Kay Borlis, the art director and designer, specializes in ultramarathons, defined as any run longer than 26 miles. This particular incident allegedly occurred in January of 2019, while Kay was competing in the Hurt 100-mile race, which is a grueling 20-mile loop through Honolulu's Mocha trails that participants run 5 times. Now, this race is especially brutal due to the numerous obstacles, including thick, mud-caked routes, numerous water crossings, cliffs, steep rocky inclines. The competition was going swimmingly, pun intended, until Kay injured her foot during her second to last lap and had to pull out of the race, marking the first time she'd ever done so in her career. And that's when things took a turn for the terrifying. After getting home and regrouping, her racing partner, pacing partner, Cassie, sent a bunch of photos from the race to a group chat. Well, shortly thereafter, Cassie received a text about one of the moving photos, so a live photo, which depicted a dark figure dressed in a cloak that was moving past her while she was running. This is according to the blog. Accompanying footage shows Kay jogging alongside the shady jungle trail. And then all of a sudden you get this shadowy entity emerging from the foliage and walking right past her. But neither of the ladies saw any person on that strip of trail. The reason why nobody was on that part of the trail is because all runners had to run in a clockwise direction, and tourists weren't out that early. The gals didn't see anybody for hours while running together. So they're like, okay, they're positive there was nobody there. Alarmed, Kay did do some digging about the area, and that's where they found the local legend claiming that the region is roamed by a lot of spirits. They're called night marchers. According to Honolulu magazine, these rainforest creatures supposedly traveled at night to protect people, so sacred that the common man was never allowed to look at them. Breaking that rule meant death. If found in the path of one of these creatures, mortals should, be nude, lie face down to avoid looking at them. Folklore dictates that if you were to urinate on yourself, that also might help keep you alive, and also if you share a direct descendant line with any of these specters in the procession. So Kay's lucky she didn't spot the alleged forest spirit until after the fact. After uploading the photos to social media, the cross-country competitor was swarmed by haters, who called her and Cassie a lot of mean names. Some folks even accused her of doctoring the image, and other people were like, no, it's just a crazy person on the trail. But Kay is adamant. She saw something out of the ordinary. She's like, we have the photos, and the live photo as evidence of something. She plans to return and complete the ultramarathon, by the way. Hopefully she doesn't run into anything this time. David Burgett and his family live in Florida now, after they were urged to flee from their Springfield, Massachusetts home following a disturbing paranormal event. So back in October of 2020, David's front door camera let him know that a package was on the porch, so he opened the door to retrieve it. Well, as his front door swung inwards, the camera mounted on it faced into the living room where his wife sat on the sofa. And the footage shows David dragging this large parcel inside, wrestling it into the center of the room. Now, he decided to review the front door footage to see if he could determine whether the package arrived damaged or if the carrier had been too rough with the box. And what he saw on the camera was absolutely freaking terrifying. So as he opened the door, the camera captures a skeletal figure in a black robe sitting on the couch next to his wife. And the figure that looks very much like the Grim Reaper doesn't move at all during the video. It stares unblinkingly towards the camera. Wifey never saw the being, but she did sense it. She reportedly felt cold and pain on the side of her body closest to where the entity sat. And there was nobody else in the building at the time the entity appeared. So after consulting with paranormal investigators, the family was like, hey, let's sell this place, get out of here because we're not dealing with this. And good on them. More often than not, folks stay behind, fight the demon. Not worth it. A dog-walking couple says they bumped into something pretty terrifying. A creepy-looking figure crossed right in front of them in the dark, and even though they caught it on camera, they have no clue what this is. Hannah and Dave Rowett were strolling with their pups through Clumber Park in Nottinghamshire, England, and they bumped into this shadowy creature. You can see it seemingly appear out of thin air and cross their path before going poof. So Hannah's picture was taken as a live photo. So with live photos, you can make them into videos. And then their daughter posted it to Facebook. They were like, oh, seems we weren't alone on our early morning walk today. And the post kind of did gangbusters. It got about 500 reactions. There was thousands of comments, shares. Somebody was like, maybe it's the ghost of a dog or a fox. Somebody else commented saying they had chills seeing that. They're like, how lucky are you? Now, a lot of folks were like, maybe this was cigarette smoke. Maybe this was a vape. The couple's like, we don't smoke. It wasn't that. Apparently, Dave is like, I am a full-blown skeptic, but this encounter made me a believer. He's like, I've always been really skeptical, but literally every hair from my feet to my head stood on end. He's like, I asked her to show me the photo again. I loved it. Now, while the couple might never know what they saw, Hannah feels comforted by the online detectives. She's like, I've had so many messages about it. It justifies our feeling about it. There aren't many like this out there, and we've got no logical explanation. Well, fun fact folks, apparently this park is supposedly haunted by a gray lady spirit. This woman in a long coat, a demon, crawling on her long limbs, which kinda lines up pretty well with the hunched over thing we saw in the clip. So a paranormal investigator claims to have recorded his best evidence yet of the unknown. Mark Davies and 3 friends visited Eeriewood, Kennelvale at Cornwall back in early 2019 when they had this encounter. He claims footage showing a silhouette appearing across a small bridge, which leads to one of the really, left behind, busted up mills standing on the site, shows something. So Mark and his friends were trying to measure paranormal activity in the area. They wanted to communicate with supernatural beings. So in the video, Mark was like, I always knew they existed. I have felt them, smelt them, heard them. And now, I have seen them. Some may call them aliens, some may call them demons, the Watchers, many other names. And this was his best evidence visual up to date of a non-human being caught on a video camera. He's like, some folks think it's a hoax, that I manipulated the evidence provided. And he's like, well, the evidence is here. The proof is in the pudding. So in the clip, he's like, show us that you're here. Show us that you live on, please. We're here to communicate with you. Well, a couple seconds after that, Mark's friend Wendy starts losing her air. She's coughing, as we're seeing something happening on the bridge. So Mark continues, can all the spirits in these woods stand in front of the bridge? And he's like, hey Wendy, you okay? He was also asking, is it safe to go beyond this bridge? If it's dangerous, can you show yourself, please, on this camera? And then there was a bit of a change of frequency. Mark started to be physically affected by the presence. So the video shows he had to walk away from the bridge for a bit. Apparently, his back started to kill him. Mark later said, although the group felt a presence, the creature could not be seen in person. And when asked what kind of being it was, Mark was like, I haven't got any idea. The face is not right. It's not human. But it's definitely there. It was a solid form. I don't want to go there again. He's like, yeah, it gave me a feeling that scared the hell out of me. I just think it's evil. It's not from this world. It was definitely there and it was a solid form. He felt a presence, a coldness and a pain. He just asked it to show itself and it was there. Yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want to do that again. Back in 2015, on his way home from work, David, a resident of the Garden State, says he captured something on his camera, and it's not something normal. So the resident of Little Egg Harbor Township was driving past a golf course on Route 9 when he spotted this monster. He told the local news it was around 6 p.m. and he was like, maybe it was a llama, because sure, random llamas, folks. And as he got closer, he pulled out his camera and took a photo, because llamas on the side of a highway. Kind of funny. But then, apparently, this creature sprouted wings and took flight from the course it was hanging out on. So our witness said his heart was racing as he witnessed both incredible wonder and deep-seated nightmarish thoughts while capturing the footage. Now, apparently this photo was not photoshopped. It wasn't staged. And he's like, a lot of people said it's fake. He's like, I'm just looking for an explanation as to what I saw. So he did take a number of photos, because when you take out your phone, you're like, click, 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 click. But only one of them clearly showed the devilish demon as described in dozens of stories. The photo showed a creature with dark brown fur, wings on its back, and cloven feet. He described it as large, about a flying mammal the size of a deer. Well, if you look at the photo, you can clearly see wings on the creature's back, horns on its head, its feet are correct, and the fur is dark brown, and it's off the ground. Look, I don't see any wires or string holding it up like a piñata. So after his encounter, the witness said he stared at the photo for an hour. He was trying to come up with any kind of explanation for the image he had captured, and he came up with nothing. So going off of that cell phone statement, we've all got them these days, which means we got a lot of footage, and we've got time for one more clip. It starts off perfectly innocent, showing a girl and her friend laughing together in a bedroom. In fact, the woman who filmed it didn't notice anything strange about it until she sent it to a friend, and they were like, hey, what's that burnt red-faced demon behind you? So the clip made its way to Reddit, and the caption was, something with a red face came up behind my friend. She was hanging out, there was nobody else in the room with her, and it randomly shows up behind the girl on the left's head. The poster also said it was a demon maybe, or something, because lots of bad stuff was happening at her house and sad stuff with the family. So it happens very quickly. It only appears in the last second of the video. But someone brought the clip to YouTube, where they analyzed it, slowed it down, and you could really see the creepy figure. Commenters on the video were disturbed. Somebody was like, dang, that is some scary shit. You can see it rising behind the girl. Or, oh my god, it's Freddy Krueger. And Reddit was like, that scared me. Alrighty, everybody, we're gonna kick off today with the infamous Hinsdale House. With the legends of a hanging tree, a pond that has claimed at least one life, and hills that are said to hold the graves of the countless, many believe that this place may very well be the most haunted house in Western New York. I'll let the audio clip play now, as long as the spirits haven't taken it down yet. Current owner Dan Clay says it's not just one story, but the one that made it the most famous was during the 1970s when a family started having poltergeist-like activity in the house. So we're gonna backtrack for a second, because it seems like in the late 1960s, it seemed like something was unearthed when new ponds were dug on the property. But Clara and Phil Dandy moved into the house in the early 1970s with their offspring. And at this time, the activity became so frequent and menacing that they called Father Alphonsus, a priest from St. Bonaventure University, for help. I know I didn't elaborate, but you're probably asking, okay, Alexa, how menacing? We've got all the usual stuff. Things flying off shelves, kitchen utensils flying into pictures, scratches. Which might not sound crazy if you know about demonic stuff, but this was really bad for the young daughters in the home. Dan says that the priest performed a structural exorcism, and the house started shaking and it sounded like a crying noise, a screaming noise coming out of the windows. And the exorcism didn't work. So this family fled, and as the years passed, a few families have come and gone. Nobody's staying for too long. This is where Daniel's chapter in the story starts. So he purchased the infamous house and put it back into a functional condition. Nowadays, he lets teams investigate the property in hopes of discovering the mystery behind the ghosts who haunt this home. The current owner is also the co-founder of the Greater WNY Paranormal Society and has mentioned in interviews that he believes that the paranormal activity goes back to 1799 in a massacre that is said to have occurred on the land. Now, Mary Ball has come to the house and run tours for many years, and she had an experience that seems to support that theory. So her son was sitting on the bed one night and didn't know any stories about the house. He just knew it was haunted. He looked out the window and saw his dad standing up by the fire, and he looked at Mary and said, "Who was that angry man staring at Daddy?" But the horrific history doesn't end there, by the way. During the 1800s, there were stories of a pair of brothers who lived there, who raided passing stagecoaches, robbed them, and either killed the occupants and buried them. And I believe they either buried them in the cellar or the hills behind the house. Dan says the haunting past seems to echo today in many manifestations, including shadow figures, electronic voice phenomenon, otherwise known as EVPs, objects moving, and even full-body apparitions. So, do we want to go visit there or not? Also, that audio totally freaked me out. Time to chat about another terrifying place, the Sally House. This was built in the mid-1800s, commissioned by the Finney family and home to Dr. Charles Finney. He practiced medicine from the house, using the bottom floor for surgery and examination, and a bedroom as an office. The family lived upstairs until moving out due to a lack of space. Nowadays, this place is reported to be haunted by the ghost of a young girl who passed away. According to legend, a girl named Sally was brought to Dr. Finney's house by her mother for severe abdominal pain. So he gave her anesthesia and began emergency surgery, as he believed Sally's appendix was about to rupture, but he cut into her before the anesthesia kicked in. So as he continued doing surgery, Sally was screaming because she felt the pain, and the procedure sadly ended up killing her, and her last memories of a man whom she believed was harming her. Which, that is some bad last memories to have. So even though the house had long been known to be haunted, Sally's haunting grew ominous in 1993, when the house was rented to a young couple. Their dog seemed to growl at nothing, especially near the upstairs nursery. And things began to take a violent turn when fires broke out in the house, and there was a series of sinister attacks that happened on the husband. The area that used to be the operating area, it would become ice cold. Objects would visibly move when the young man drew near, and he could feel scratches upon his chest or abdomen. But the ghost didn't attack the wife or the offspring. Multiple former tenants have reported paranormal activity, and a lot of them were guys. They've got the usual, scratch until liquid pours from your skin, which has led Sally to being dubbed as the man-hating ghost. She also seems to like running up and down the stairs leading to the second floor. Apparently a lot of folks have felt her presence when they're going up and down the stairs, and they're like, oh, hey Sally. But the theory of the man-hating ghost makes a lot of sense to me with what I know about demonic possession and demonic hangouts, if you will. The basement of the house has a big smudge on the middle of the floor where there's supposedly a pentagram used for demonic rituals and sacrifices once upon a time. Psychics have confirmed the presence of spirits dwelling in the home, and many have actually communicated with them. And skeptics have left as believers. Visits by paranormal investigators have provided audio, video, and photographic proof of paranormal activity. Ergo, how we have the audio we have today, courtesy of the Live Sci-Fi Paranormal Network, who have called this home the scariest place they've ever ventured. And according to their channel, they've been there a lot. I don't blame them, there's a lot to unpack.
Spirit. Girl? How many of you are there?
Here's a location that shouldn't shock anybody by being demonic, Aleister Crowley's house. Okay, I know he had a lot of them, but I think this was the one over in Scotland. We've got some of the hellscape footage, which I'll let play now before I forget.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Known formally as Boleskine House or Boleskine House, Crowley bought the home in 1899 to seclude himself and perform magic from the book of the Sacred Magic of Abraham the Mage, which he discovered as a member of the British secret occult society, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It's like, this is a great hangout. So it's during this time that Crowley became famous for his magic and occult practices, both around Scotland and around the world. Sometime during this period, Golden Dawn leader Samuel MacGregor Mathers invited Crowley to Paris for advancement in the secret initiatory group, forcing Crowley to abandon the ritual. Now, it is said he left without dispelling the 12 kings and dukes of hell he had summoned, and many locals blame the house's unlucky history on the evil spirits left behind. Not a good move, dude. Now, Crowley was like, I'm not going to admit I've made a mistake. I'm too good for that. But he even conceded that the rituals he had performed at this home had gotten out of hand. Because that's not terrifying at all. Many other strange tales followed this ownership, so in 1965, an army major took his own life with a firearm, only for the housekeeper to discover him moments later. In the 1960s, this home became one of the sites of the Cadco affair, also known as the Great Sausage Scandal, a bizarre tale of how Dennis Lorraine and actor George Sanders managed to embezzle millions of pounds in government grants under the pretense of meeting a national shortage of pork products. The next owner was another dark celebrity of a different kind, Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page. Page spent very little time at the estate, instead bequeathing it to a friend and his family, Malcolm Dent. Dent reported strange and unexplained creaks, groans, and various ghostly apparitions, and became annoyed by the Crowley and Page fans who frequently attempted to come up to the house. Later owners dismissed any notions of hauntings or witchcraft, but tragedy continued to strike. In 2015, the residents of the house returned from a shopping trip to find the home completely in flames. There were no injuries, as the house was totally empty, but yeah. Personally, hard pass on visiting there. Thanks. The audio's scary enough. Here's another doozy, the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast in Massachusetts. This is without a doubt the most famous haunted bed and breakfast in New England. Located at 232nd Street, it's known for the usual, doors opening and closing on their own, combined with a mysterious floral scent that some say are signs of the Borden spirits. For those who are unfamiliar with the story, police accused Borden of brutally killing her father and stepmother with a hatchet in 1892. Now, she was acquitted of the killings later that year, but still. A lot of folks have claimed to hear noises of creaking or footsteps, unexplained laughter, and seen a ghostly face appearing on a wall in the basement. In 2019, folks from the YouTube channel Glam and Gore spent the night at the bed and breakfast in an attempt to make contact with the spirits of the Borden family. The team spent a fair amount of time seemingly talking to Lizzie's stepmother, Abby, aka the lady whose head was caved in by an axe, and the team asked Abby if John Morse, who was a family member and guest of the Bordens, had killed her. A voice seemingly replied, "It was John." The team noted how the voice sounded almost demonic. Now, while it's impossible to know for sure if the voice was that of Lizzie's stepmother or something more sinister, it's still shocking to hear it coming from the room where Abby Borden met her violent end.
Peter.
Not funny.
I'm wearing a ghost shirt.
That's it. Peter brought this backpack over.
Believers in paranormal claim the house is haunted by everyone. We're talking Abby and her husband, the ghosts of two young folks killed by their mother at a house next door in 1848, possibly even Lizzie herself on a part-time basis, because she also haunts Maplecroft, her post-trial house on French Street. So look, it all makes sense to me. I've heard the audio, so have you. What do you think? Alrighty everybody, we're ending today with the most popular case on our list, that of Anneliese Michel. She grew up practicing Christianity in Bavaria, West Germany in the 1960s, where she attended mass twice a week. When Anneliese was only 16, she suddenly blacked out at school and began walking around in what her friends and family described as a trance-like state. And she herself was unable to recall any of it. Now, fast forward a year, it's happening still, and there was one day where Anneliese woke up in a trance after her body went through a series of convulsions, causing it to shake uncontrollably. After this, she went to a neurologist who diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy, which is a disorder that causes seizures, loss of memory, and experiencing visual and auditory hallucinations. So they gave her meds, and they didn't work. And as time went on, her condition only got worse. She began to see the face of the devil wherever she went and constantly heard demons whispering in her ears. Now, when she heard the demons telling her that she was, well, damned, you're gonna rot in hell while you were praying, she concluded that the devil himself must be possessing her. With the knowledge that she was possessed consuming her, she constantly ripped the clothes off her body, compulsively performed up to 400 squats a day, crawled under a table, and barked like a dog for 2 days straight. She also ate spiders, coal, bit the head off of a dead bird, and licked her own fluids from the floor. Finally, she and her mother found a priest, Ernst Alt, who believed in her possession, stating that she didn't look like an epileptic, which Okay. Ernst petitioned the local bishop, Bishop Joseph Stangl, who eventually approved the request and granted local priest Arnold Renz the permission to perform an exorcism, but ordered that it be carried out in total secrecy, because stigma. So over the next 10 months, following the bishop's approval of the exorcism, Ernst and Arnold conducted 67 exorcisms, lasting up to 4 hours per session on this poor woman, which, heinous. Through these sessions, Anneliese revealed that she was possessed by 6 demons, and all these spirits would jostle for control of her body and would communicate from her mouth with a low growl. They constantly argued with each other, with one being quoted as saying, "People are stupid as pigs. They think it's all over after death. It goes on." And another was like, "You've got nothing but a big mouth. You have no real say in hell." Like, just constant mayhem. We do have the audio of this recording, as long as it hasn't disappeared from the interwebs yet, so I'd like to have a bit of it play now for y'all, because poor girl. Oh my gosh. Like, this girl broke her bones, ripped the tendons in her knees from constantly praying, and like, I can't even imagine. Over these 10 months, Anneliese was frequently restrained so the priest could conduct the exorcism rites. Now, she slowly stopped eating and sadly passed away from malnutrition and dehydration on July 1st of 1976 at only 23 years old.
First up, we have Incubus. This dark demon is said to take on the appearance of a male human who tries to impregnate unsuspecting women while they are asleep. Now, the goal of Incubus is to use his unsuspecting victims to birth demons and witches in order to create more servants of hell and devil worshippers. The word incubus is actually derived from the Latin language and directly translates to nightmare. So keeping that in mind, it only makes sense that this demon would appear in the shadows of the night to prey on his victims. It is not known how many dark beings Incubus could have fathered, but it is believed that the famous magician Merlin was actually created by Incubus. Many people believe that Merlin would actually spread dark magic in the towns that he traveled to while he was under the demon's control. Now, some people also believe that this demon has actually been summoned through a Ouija board on multiple occasions. There are many stories of people find their partners alone in bed doing some unspeakable acts by themselves. It also appears that any woman who has been a victim of Incubus has no recollection of the events that led to their eventual pregnancy. And once a Ouija board has been used to summon Incubus, it is incredibly hard to get rid of him. This is not as simple as opening a door and kicking someone out of your house when you want them to leave. Some of the oldest tricks that were used in the medieval era include covering your bed in black salt and burning special types of incense that Incubus really doesn't like. So unless you want to have a very disgusting visitor arrive in your home, the Incubus is one demon you should never activate with a Ouija board. So do you believe that Ouija boards are as dangerous as people claim? Give us your thoughts in the comments down below as we check out some more demons. Next up is Beelzebub. This demon is viewed as many different things by many different people, which brings up the possibility that it could be a real-life shapeshifter. Now, most demons have a clear goal that they want to achieve, and they have various ways of manipulating their victims in order to obtain what they want. Beelzebub loosely translates to Lord of the Flies, which has led many to believe that this demon could very well take on the appearance of a small insect. However, other stories have described Beelzebub as a large demon that actually commands a huge army of insect-like creatures. It is said that Beelzebub uses its many servants to cause destruction and wreak havoc on Earth through violent attacks. These servants are generally regarded as scum and excrement that are lurking in the deepest depths of the underworld. Some religious figures even believe that these servants are damned souls who are forced to carry out their Lord's dirty work for the rest of eternity. The Catholic Church especially fears Beelzebub, as he is even mentioned in the Bible. The scribes in Mark 3:22 have actually accused Jesus Christ himself of working directly with Beelzebub. Some believe that the Lord of the Flies was banishing evil spirits away from Earth on Jesus' orders so he could gain even more servants. Now, anything that commands an army of evil spirits and has the ability to shapeshift should not be taken lightly. Summoning Beelzebub with a Ouija board can enrage the demon and cause it to take over your day-to-day life. There have been reports of Beelzebub appearing in homes as a large dark mass that is most active at night. Other smaller paranormal events are likely the work of his minions, but this is one demon you do not want to mess around with. After that, we have Antoine Gay. This one may not sound as terrifying as a traditional demon, but it could be even more dangerous. Antoine Gay started out life as an ordinary human being, but he is infamously known as being one of the strongest cases of demonic possession to this very day. Antoine was a Frenchman who served in the military in the 1800s before becoming a carpenter in the city of Lyon. He then decided he wanted to begin the process of becoming a monk and was accepted as a lay brother at his local abbey. Now, things took a strange turn for him, however, when he shockingly decided to leave the church due to a complete nervous disorder. His sudden mood swings and his unexplained conditions quickly started to raise concerns that he had been possessed by a demon. He was examined by priests and other religious figures who reported that Gay spoke in a much deeper tone and began to share dark secrets of his life. He also started speaking in perfect Latin without ever studying the language or having any knowledge of it. Now, religious figures named the demon that had possessed Antoine Isacaro, but not much was known about the demon or its intentions beyond its name. Antoine Gay eventually passed away in the late 1800s due to various complications that priests believe were linked to the demon who had possessed him. But nowadays there are people who are convinced that Antoine Gay is still inhabiting our world as an evil entity. There are rumors that Isacaro had passed its energy onto Antoine when he passed away, and he is now tormenting other souls all around the world. However, because of the mystery surrounding the original demon, no one is really sure how to stop it. Ouija boards are likely the easiest way to summon it, but there is no reason why anyone should even attempt to do that. Next on our list is Baphomet. This demon is another direct servant of Satan who was mentioned in texts as far back as the 11th century. He is described as a large winged beast with a goat head and a human-like body. Many paintings also show the words dissolve and coagulate tattooed on the demon's arms. Now, this seems a little strange at first until you realize the main purpose of this demonic figure. Many believe that Satan had originally summoned Baphomet to destroy religion from the inside out. He would manipulate humans on Earth to carry out some evil deeds and spread the word that religion was very bad for the soul. Of course, Baphomet needed a large following of loyal servants who would help him in his quest, and he didn't have a tough time finding them. The infamous Knights Templar that existed between the 12th and 14th centuries were apparently the main followers and direct servants of Baphomet. They would supposedly carry out all sorts of anti-Catholic rituals and actions, which included spitting on the cross. While the Knights were technically a military order that was supposedly fighting alongside the Catholic Church, some believe that they were actually fighting against it. Many people started to question the Templars' faith in the early 1300s, and some were convinced that they were worshipping demons. Then in 1307, it was King Philip IV who ordered the majority of the Knights to be arrested for worshipping Baphomet. This led to the of many members and the complete dissolution of the order. But if you thought that spelled the end of Baphomet altogether, then you would be very, very wrong. There are many anti-religious groups that still exist today, and many believe that they are actively summoning Baphomet to carry out their orders. While many evil spirits are keen on working with this terrifying demon, others are still actively fighting to banish him forever. And finally, we have Lucifer. Now, this evil figure is actually a fallen angel who is now believed to be the demon of pride. Now, because pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, Lucifer's actions have resulted in him being labeled a demon by many in the Catholic Church. It is said that Lucifer was actually one of God's greatest creations, and many regarded him as a true son of God. While Lucifer was gifted a throne by God himself and was placed in the Garden of Eden to enlighten humans, his own self-pride eventually got the better of him. After witnessing the creation of Adam and Eve, Lucifer was ordered to bow to the original pair of humans. But in a defiant move of power, Lucifer declared that his creation was far superior and he refused to bow to Adam and Eve. Now, some believe that Lucifer was incredibly brave to rebel against his creator, but God was not interested in hearing his argument. Lucifer was banished from heaven for his actions and is regarded as the first sinner for putting his own self-pride before God. His appearance as an angel quickly transformed into a demon who convinces people to develop egos. It is believed by many in the Catholic Church and others that egotistical people are the works of Lucifer himself, as he leads them to their inevitable downfall. While many demons could be considered more dangerous due to their violent natures, Lucifer could actually be the most cunning of them all. His slow and steady manipulation of a person's ego can lead to some terrible choices in life that can have irreversible consequences. The estimated number of victims who have been manipulated by Lucifer throughout history is well into the millions. Summoning this entity through a Ouija board might not have an immediate impact on a person's life, but it will slowly crush them over time. There are definitely ways to fix a person who is possessed by Lucifer, but you'd be better off just keeping him far away from any Ouija boards.
We all know that demonic spirits like to communicate through Ouija boards, but did you know that they've also figured out how to text to get their message across? Back in 2014, Father Marian Rachel from Jarosław, Poland, claimed to have received several digital missives from the Prince of Darkness after performing a failed exorcism on a high school-aged girl. The Austrian Times reported that the girl's soul remained possessed by a demon, so it's pretty legit. According to the holy man, the author of these texts is an evil spirit who has possessed her soul, adding, often the owners of mobile phones are not even aware aware that they are being used like this. However, in this case, it is clear. He referred local news reporters to one of Satan's texts that read, "She will not come out of hell. She's mine. Anyone who prays for her will die." After the father replied, Beelzebub took his turn and said, "Shut up, preacher. You cannot save yourself, idiot, you pathetic old preacher." According to the priest, clearly this young girl has been possessed and needs further help. It's not known whether the beasts also use WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, or Twitter. Seriously though, if God works in mysterious ways, demons work in really, really lazy ones. I guess work smarter, not harder, but I hope my texts don't get hacked. Does anyone else know about Canada's first ever case of possession? This is an event that dates back to the 1600s. Leading figures in Quebec City during the 1660s, to be specific, suspected an alleged witch, Danielle Voyle, of employing diabolical arts to induce a demon to possess Barbe Halai, a young girl working at a manor house in nearby Beauport. Both the witch and the family of the girl had recently arrived in Quebec at the time, and the tiny village had fewer than 800 people. And when strange things started to happen to the family, people were a little thrown off. How strange, you might ask? People recorded details about them that we don't have for other people in what was known as New France. The French colonists treated this particular case of demon possession in the ways familiar to them from their country of origin. They appear to have assumed the demon itself matched the demons of Catholic tradition. Now, this poor girl continued to experience the symptoms of demonic possession for months after the alleged witch was executed, apparently on the orders of Bishop François de Laval. Sadly, the court details of the crime and sentencing have been lost, but we can assume. Historians have noted that the end of the ordeal came in the form of an exorcism, or what sounds very much like one, conducted by a layperson using a rib bone believed to belong to the deceased Jean de Brébeuf. Saint Jean de Brébeuf was a French missionary who was captured and killed in 1649, by the way. To quote the history texts, we have a laywoman who would normally not be permitted to perform an exorcism, in fact performing an exorcism in all but name. Experts consider this an example of the cultural compromises that the frightened colonists felt they had to make. These colonists were pretty few in number, and were cut off from France for most of the year, and were kind of in trouble. They needed support from a king, who might turn his attention away from them at any moment, towards folks that were just generating more income. And also, they needed help from indigenous allies, who they didn't always respect. Not good to offend those that you need help from. If you're looking for the records, experts have quoted sources including the memoir of a local aristocrat, the personal correspondence of a nun living in the town's convent, the biography of another nun who spent a year attempting nightly exorcisms, and the daily records of nearby priests. These accounts shed light on how town authorities attempted to deal with this affliction, which included horrifying visions, violent outbursts, all usual demon stuff, if you ask me. Has anyone ever heard of the International Association of Exorcists? So it's an organization that was founded in 1990 by 6 priests, including the world-famous exorcist of Rome, Father Gabriel Amorth, and Father Jeremy Davies. Its statutes were approved by the Roman Catholic Church on June 13th of 2014, and this organization provides training and support to exorcists and also helps to raise awareness of the issue of demonic possession. It has around 250 members from 30 countries, and all those members are priests who have been authorized by their bishops to perform exorcisms. The organization is composed of mostly Catholic priests, but there are a couple of Anglicans and Orthodox folks, so need a little bit of variety. The association recently published a Mexican Catholic priest's report of a significant increase in the extraordinary action of the devil. Devotees who seek miracles have been victims of numerous cases of oppression, obsession, and demonic possession, according to the Reverend Andres Lopez, who is a member of the College of Exorcists of the Primacil Archdiocese of Mexico. He described the skeletal Santa Muerte, also known as Holy Death, or the Angel of Death, as a growing cult or sect that is a fusion of Brazilian Quimbanda, Cuban Santeria, and occult Satanism. He's also associated it with organized crimes such as robberies and narco selling. So overall, just a bad time for folks who live in that area. Okay, here's a doozy of a case. In summer of 2013, 25-year-old John Jenkins from Cumbria, England, expressed fears that he would kill his mother. While in his deranged state, he approached a random van driver, put his hands in the air in a surrender motion and cried out, "I am armed, but it's not in my hands." Desperate to avoid committing such an atrocity, he tried to end his life by downing a cocktail of whiskey, painkillers, LSD, and attempting to end himself in a river. He was discovered later that day, unstable, and smeared with his own red fluids after self-inflicting. After these events, he was admitted to a psychiatric hospital where the staff was like, "Yeah, you're low risk." And they're like, "Get out of here, pal." I'm no expert, but I'd hate to see high risk if that's considered minimal. Later that evening, he confessed to a group of friends that he was possessed by demons, saying, "I am the devil, I need to confess." He said his mother had become aggressive and controlling after the events of that day, and that same night his sister Katie had confided to one of her own friends that she was pretty worried about her brother, saying, "It doesn't look like him. Doesn't seem like him. Something's off. The next morning, after a brutal argument with his mother and sister, this guy went downstairs and hit his mother with lots of blows to her head with the sharp end of an axe, and when his sister came downstairs, he attacked her as well to stop her from screaming. Guess the sister was sadly right to be worried. After the killings, Jenkins was found stark nude, crouched behind a bench, acting erratically. Well, more erratically. When a police officer asked him if he had taken anything, he was like, lives. A court has sentenced him to a minimum of only 12 years in prison, which doesn't feel like enough. Alrighty, we're ending today with a personal favorite tale that I think needs to be talked about more, the case of the Black Lace Veil. Now, while I obviously love the idea of a cute gothy aesthetic, this is anything but. After one of his public lectures, Ed Warren, the man we all know to love or hate, was conversing with a couple that had been in the audience, where a boy introduced himself as Alan and explained that he'd brought his girlfriend Lonnie to the lecture because he suspected that she'd been overtaken by some sort of occult influence. He explained that when his girlfriend became angry, her features would change into something resembling a wolf, and then the voice of a different person would speak from inside of her. Now, when Ed's wife Lorraine walked over to the group, Lonnie experienced an episode of instantaneous possession and lurched out in an attempt to attack Lorraine. This incident terrified everybody in the vicinity, with the Warrens ending the audience chat session immediately, and Ed was like, okay, let's get you folks out of here so we can deal with this privately. And Lorraine stayed outside because she's like, I'm gonna take a minute. In the backstage room, the girl was fully under possession, breathing heavily, and her facial features had transformed into the wolf-like appearance the boy had talked about. After about 10 minutes, the possession passed, and Lonnie was lucid enough to explain dealing with memory loss, along with losing hours and days of her life over the last couple of months, which is a symptom common in possession. She went on to share her background, that she was a girl wealthy enough to buy whatever she wanted, but money can't buy love. Originally, her now boyfriend Alan had refused all of her advances and bribery attempts at becoming hers, so she resorted to visiting a store prominent in selling books to help with witchcraft, and bought a book on black arts. And she performed a ritual to get a lover. This ritual involved, you guessed it, the Black Lace Veil, on top of which she placed a crown of goat horns before renouncing God in her baptism, along with swearing allegiance to Satan, and finalizing the ritual by washing down the vow with a cup of animal life source. Simple stuff you can get at the grocery store. About a month after Lonnie performed the ritual, Alan began paying her the attention she craved, making her little world perfect. But what she hadn't counted on was that she was in debt to the demonic. She gave them permission to enter her life. Ed knew right away, crap, Lonnie's gonna have to undergo an exorcism, so he made contact with a priest the next morning who was able to come and assist. Upon arrival, the priest just wanted to make sure, so he instructed Lonnie to close her eyes and slowly count to 20, while his assistant stood behind her and placed a cross behind her head. The entity possessing the girl suddenly went wild, screaming, "Take it away, it burns, take it away," like she was freaking out during the entire exorcism, kept screaming, she's mine, her soul is mine. The spirit was eventually separated from Lonnie, but just before it departed, it vowed it would return to another. The Warrens gathered up everything, the veil, the conjuring book, all the paraphernalia, and brought it home. But I'm not done yet. Video's not over here. Later on, as time goes on, Ed receives a phone call from a man named John Rand, who's like, hey, can you meet my daughter? She has a natural knowledge of what he took to be witchcraft, and he was a little concerned. When she stared at people, even when they weren't aware of it, she'd fill their mind with inhuman terror. John called Ed because, well, Charlene was manifesting different personalities, some male, some female, some that could even be called human, but all making extremely threatening statements to John and his wife. He had already brought Charlene to various doctors, clergymen, and they were all like, talk to Ed. Ed can fix your problems. So Ed's like, okay, come on over, let's see what we can do. So when he met Charlene, he went to go shake her hand, and she backed away and stared distrustfully at him, keeping track of every move he made. His attempts to question her resulted in no-end answers, and her eyes began to wander about the room in boredom. When they landed on the black veil in the corner, Charlene jumped up, grabbed it, and clutched it to her chest. Her features immediately began to transform into those of a wild, sneering creature, distinct from this otherwise pretty girl. Ed drew 2 vials of water to himself, one unblessed, the other blessed by an exorcist, and moved away from what was no longer Charlene, but an inhuman spirit, a lesser devil of hell. Horrid moaning and various animal sounds came from the girl as Ed blessed her, banishing the demon away for now a second time. Yeah, those items have been locked up ever since, and I don't ever want to see them back in this world.
Number 5. The Invisible Guest. Our first clip today was posted to Reddit, and it's a delightfully strange one. It's CCTV footage of a security guard working in Buenos Aires at a hospital late at night around 3 a.m. Now, traditionally, that's kind of like the witching hour, but like no big deal or anything. Anyway, take a quick little look at the clip for us. We can see the security guard get up from his desk, clipboard in hand, opening the belt, even going so far as bringing in a wheelchair for this guest who doesn't appear to exist, at least not physically. Watch this clip as many times as you'd like, you'll never see who he's letting in because they just don't seem to exist at all. It's unsettling to say the least. Now let's put on our rational caps and take a look at this. Let's give a little Scully approach. This could just be an extremely bored security guard working the graveyard shift at a hospital doing anything to make himself entertained. I've worked long night shifts by myself, and let me tell you, I would do stupid stuff like this all the time just to keep myself entertained. Now the Mulder approach, and that's why we're here, is that this could be any number of supernatural things. A ghost? Some sort of demonic entity possessing the security guard and making him open the door. It's the way the guard does it also routinely, as if he doesn't even realize anything is wrong or, nobody's there, that makes it so unsettling. And I think that's the word for this clip. It's unsettling, it's hard to describe. The clip went fairly viral for its bizarre nature, and the hospital clarified that the guard never registered a patient to enter. So either it was a prank or the demon just didn't have enough ID on it and just waltzed on in. So let me know what you all think. Is this a bored prankster or something supernatural piercing the veil? And if you're looking for a lot more strange security footage, cryptids, creatures, tales of the unknown, or tales of the very known, Top 5 Scary has all of that and then some in spades. We've got just about everything scary you could possibly think of. So click on through, subscribe if you'd like, but stay watching this video, okay? Because we got way more scary stuff coming up for you in just a second. Number 4, a gnome. Our next clip looks like something out of the start of a low-budget, like A24 horror movie. I started watching this clip and I thought it was kind of boring, and then as soon as it got going, I literally pressed my nose to the computer screen, so I hope you do the same. This clip was posted to the subreddit Humanoid Encounters and explained that this had happened to their relatives, and they don't really know what's going on. But what we can see in the clip is bizarre. Someone is outside on their front porch, shining a light into the darkness, trying to find what is stalking them on their property. It can be a little hard to see, but behind this big rock we see what looks like tiny little hands peering out, trying not to be seen, playing a spectral game of hide and seek. It's really difficult to figure out what's going on in this clip. We only have this flashlight helping us out here, but it almost seems too like there may be more than one of these creepy little crawlies running around back there. The OP who posted the clip originally suggested that these creatures are indigenous folklore of little people, which interestingly is a myth that's surprisingly common across the globe, with cultures in Ireland, Greece, the Philippines, New Zealand, and Indonesia, to name a few, all having local legends about little people or gnomes or elves or things like that, creeping in the night. Don't you worry, that'll come up more later. Now, Scully mode for a second. This could extremely easily be someone's kids being told to play along for a prank, get some views, or even someone just hiding behind a rock playing with a doll, poking it out. The only evidence we have against this really is that the clip looks weird, and OP's word that they swear this is a close family member and wouldn't do this sort of thing. And going through the YouTube channel, you can see it's mostly just family videos, so it does make sense. So what do we think, YouTube comments? Little people creeping around, or is this a tall tale? As like a height pun. I don't know if everybody picked up on that. It's pretty smart. Number 3, creature prowling. This next clip was originally posted to TikTok and then made its way over to the subreddit High Strangeness, which I definitely recommend if you're looking for a little weird stuff in your day-to-day. Extremely fitting title because I don't think there's anywhere else this could have been posted. The footage comes to us from the Philippines and was seen late at night by a group of friends walking home. You ready for it? Here you go. So, as you could probably see in the clip, there is something horrifying prowling around on top of this roof. Certainly looks human, but looking human is an easy trick, although this creature doesn't seem like it has that one down 100% just yet. It needs a little work on its human impression. The eyes are glowing, peering out at you. The eye shining is what really gets me about this clip. It's very creepy, reminds me more of a cat or a dog's eyes when being recorded in the night than does any human. Could this possibly be a skinwalker mid-transformation that's been caught attempting to disguise itself? It definitely fits the bill of a creature walking like an animal but looks like a human. It almost looks too like it's sussing out its options, waiting for the right moment to pounce down. Now, let's get rational, get our Scully hat on. The most likely, if not uncomfortable possibility, is that this could just be someone under the influence of one or all of the substances who's having a really bad night. However, it could also be something paranormal, supernatural, creeping around caught on camera, imitating a human being. Is this someone wearing the skin of a person, or just someone having a night they're not going to remember for a few weeks? You let me know because I could go either way on this one. Number 2, a ghost. Coming up next is this clip that was making the rounds of an Instagram user going live. The user was complaining that he had seen something strange earlier in the day. He had mentioned that he had seen what he believed to be a dog man that he thought he saw, a fairly popular cryptid that gets mentioned every now and again and has been kind of picking up in popularity lately. He was talking on the live and then happened to hear something strange outside, so naturally he went to go look and the results were horrifying. Let's watch the clip. Did you see it? Well, we can roll it again if you didn't. At around a minute into the clip, when the user was going live, he hears something strange and goes in to check on what it was, and we see something rush by, if only for a second, that doesn't look like it came from this world even a little bit. It looks like a tall creature running by on its hind legs, and I'm gonna be honest, I immediately thought it was a werewolf. It kinda has that werewolfy vibe. Here's the thing about this one. Either this video is one of the best fakes I have ever seen, with a fantastic creature effects budget and some real impressive practical effect wizardry, and it's got an actor who really knows how to sell being scared, or this is actually something that happened to a real terrified guy and we caught his reaction live. I think it being on Instagram Live lends a little bit of credibility, I think, since it makes these things a lot harder to fake when you have to do it live. Ask any stage production. The thing doesn't seem like it's someone in a costume either. The silhouette looks all wrong. It really just does look like it was a werewolf caught on tape. Scully mode. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I have one. Molder mode. That is a werewolf. Full stop. That's a real werewolf. Why don't you all let me know down below in the comments what we think that might be down there, but that's a werewolf. I don't know if you're gonna be able to convince me otherwise. At number 1, the Costa Rica creature. Now, I spent a long time looking at some weird CCTV footage, door cam, blurry cell phone footage, trying to find something just weird and freaky to show you all for this video, and well, I think I've saved the best for last here. This footage was captured from a ring light security camera, and it's maybe one of the scariest things I've seen in a hot minute. Now, you take a little look-see for me, and I don't blame you at all if you need to scroll down to hide in the comments. It's safe there. Huh? What'd I tell you? Pretty weird clip? We can see a dog barking repeatedly at something outside, and at first I rolled my eyes because I thought, hey, this isn't anything supernatural, this is just 2 dogs barking at each other. Until I watched the clip over again and I realized what the dog was barking at is absolutely not a dog breed from this planet. No, we see something absolutely horrifying crawling around looking like a spider, like it just came out of Dead Space. The way the dog is barking really makes me stressed too. It's not just barking at something odd, it is freaking out and shrieking and screaming, and it seems panicked and scared and trying to let everyone in the neighborhood know that something deeply evil is around. This is one of those things where I look at it and rationally I want to say that this is just someone messing around, having fun, doing something for views, trying to get viral on TikTok. I'm having trouble being rational here. I just fully believe this might actually be a demonic entity that someone caught on camera, and personally I am extremely glad it is absolutely nowhere near me. Now, if you need me, I need to go watch some videos of, like, I don't know, cats being funny or something. Can we throw maybe a cat or 2 up at the end? A nice cute little guy, little palate cleanser for everybody. Number 5, driveway alien. Coming up first on our list is going to be this weird video of what looks to be, I'm gonna be honest with you, a visitor from another world touching down on the driveway. Now, you wouldn't expect aliens to make first contact in Colorado, but hey, here we are. In the video, we can see a really scrawny little creature running up and down Vivian Gomez's driveway. This creature had people talking after she posted the video to Facebook because, well, look at it. What is it? It's almost like it's got these giant, like, elephant ears flopping around when it moves. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this looks a lot like Dobby from Harry Potter, so we might have to seriously entertain the possibility that this is an elf that just got a sock and is running in happiness to be free. The woman whose driveway caught the security footage, Vivian Gomez, had this to offer alongside the video when she posted it on Facebook. So I woke up on Sunday morning and saw this on my camera, and I'm trying to figure out what the heck. First, I saw this shadow walking from my front door, and then I saw this thing. Has anyone else seen this on their cameras? The other 2 cameras didn't pick it up for some reason. Now, unfortunately, her security system would only film for about 10 seconds or so. So this is the only footage she had of the mysterious driveway creature. Gomez clarified for everyone that whatever this thing was, it wasn't her son. It wasn't a kid in a costume, because she doesn't let him out by himself that late. Although I think there's definitely a real question to be asked that she saw this thing running down her driveway late at night, and she considered the very real possibility that it might be her son. Like I said, I'm pretty sure the most reasonable, rational explanation is that this is a freed house elf very excited for his future in the first time. Or an alien, very possibly. Could be an alien that just touched down, or could also be a Terminator traveling in time. That's why it looked naked. Gang, let me know down below what you think this mystery monster could have been. I'm curious to hear your input. And if you're looking for more scary content, don't even move a finger. We'll have scary videos playing after this one and hundreds more on the channel. Drop a subscribe for fresh screams in your inbox every day, twice a day. Number 4, the Tentacle Beast. Now, let's take a deep dive underwater for our next one and take a look at something freaky and tentacly. Ah, this feels nice. This feels like getting back to my roots talking about weird sea creatures. You know how much I love the Megalodon. A research crew comprised of marine biologists spotted the strange creature while on board the EV Nautilus, a research vessel used by the Ocean Exploration Trust, a non-profit that conducts deep sea research. While they were down there, they captured footage of a gigantic, bizarre tentacled sea creature swimming around the depths, and researchers have yet to be able to correctly identify it, leaving them to wonder if perhaps this is the discovery of a new species entirely. Luckily, they caught footage of this weird little thing so we can all enjoy it. The creature has a bunch of tentacles extending 16 inches from nearly 7-foot long stalk, and a single polyp with barbed tentacles cupping the polyp like spiky petals. The creature kind of looks like a bizarre, angry, spiky flower flowing through the water more than it does any other marine life I can think of. I'm pretty sure I saw this thing swimming around in the corner in one of the 800 scenes about swimming in Avatar 2. This nasty little thing was found 8,000 meters beneath the surface, where all the truly terrifying life starts to form and Mother Nature gets really creative in a Jackson Pollock kind of way. The expedition's lead researcher, one Steve Auskovich, and a deep sea biologist, described the sighting as fascinating, and I'd describe it as horrifying, but hey, we each do our own thing. From time to time, we come across something that we never expected to see, and those are often the most powerful observations. Look, I'll stop you right there, man. That sounds way too much like Jurassic Park dialogue for me to feel 100% comfortable. I'll stay where I am, you stay where you are. We'll stay in each other's lanes. Number 3, the Nightwalker. Coming up next is a mysterious figure that was recorded on security camera footage from Moorhead, Kentucky. That's in the US if you didn't know. Brought to us by trusted name in paranormal news, Paranormality magazine. The video got a ton of attention, garnering 500,000 views or so, and you can see why. It shows this wretched, pale, hunched over creature running around what looks like a downtown parking lot. What's really creepy about this whole thing is trying to figure out how big it is, you know? It's hunched over, which doesn't make it any easier, but you try and compare it to the car in the video and you can kind of see that it looks like it only comes up to the trunk. Is it a goblin? A gnome? Is this another freed house elf? Has there been a resurgence in freed elves? You can't even make out what the creature's face looks like, or if it has any facial features at all, to be honest. Like most good supernatural videos, the camera quality is very choppy. If you've got a keen eye, you probably noticed it's not a rip of the security camera proper, but rather someone recording a monitor. So it's a video recording of a recording, and you're watching a recording of a recording of a recording, so it's not the most crystal clear. Some commenters on the video are not nearly as convinced as me, your host who is easily and immediately convinced by everything he sees. Some have suggested that it could just be somebody in a morph suit, it could just be some youngsters having a bit of fun, but hey, I listen to those and I offer you, it could also very well be a demon sneaking around a parking lot. We listen to all sides, and we take them very seriously here at Top 5 Scary. Number 2, Pale Walker. Coming up next is a clip out of India that went viral last year and captured the attention of paranormal enthusiasts, alien hunters, and skeptics alike. It's really nice when you can get everyone in the community together like that. In this video, a strange, pale humanoid-like figure was spotted walking across the road in India, baffling the heck out of just about everybody who saw it. Whatever it was filmed walking alone steadily on a bridge at night in Ecklund in eastern India, staggering through the night. The thing resembles a human enough, and that's what my brain tells me it is. That's what Occam's razor suggests it should be. But the more you look at it, the more you start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, this might be something else. The creature is gangly, and it has these long arms and long legs, pale white skin, and a very skinny torso. Gosh, imagine having a skinny torso, being very pale, having very long arms, and gangly. Could not imagine what that's like. Could not imagine what that's like at all. It looks a great deal more like a monster out of Silent Hill 2 than it does a person. Motorcyclists in the video are swerving out of the way of the figure, which stops and stares at them for a bit before continuing to stroll onwards like it ain't no thing. Naturally, this got more people talking and wondering as to just what this thing could possibly be. More than a few people suggested that it could be an alien walking around the streets at night, explaining why it seems so confused about where it is. Some commenter even suggested that if you watch the sky, there's some lights up there. I don't know, I didn't see the video enough times. Others even suggested the possibility of it being a ghost, which would be pretty spooky. I'm always open to something turning out to be a ghost. I love a ghost. It does seem like it's interacting with the physical plane though, and those motorcyclists are trying to swerve out of it, so I'm not 100% on that. And finally, there's the realists, who I guess we have to listen to sometimes, who suggested that this could just be someone who had a long night and is lost, possibly on 1, 2, or all of the substances, staggering home trying to get a good night's sleep. Now, as far as I know, no one ever cracked this case, so hey, we may never have a satisfying answer to this. I think this thing should get in contact with the weird little creatures from Point 5 and Point 3, and maybe they can form a weird little pale creatures caught on CCTV footage union. I like this one too. Let me know down below what you think it is. I want to hear everybody's opinions. Number 1, the Chupacabra. And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot is going to be my beloved Chupacabra. Oh, do I love the Chupacabra. It's probably one of my favorite cryptids. If I've ever said another cryptid was my favorite before on this channel, I am now officially retconning it that I have always been saying Chupacabra. I love that in the world of cryptids, you know, you got cool things like Mothman or the Flatwoods Monster that might be an alien, and then the Chupacabra is just like a weird dog. You know, sometimes it's a goblin, but most descriptions of the Chupacabra just make it out to be like kind of an angry big dog. Well, take a look at this footage of a big, angry, freaky, mangy mutt that's got people clutching their pearls and locking up the livestock. Recently captured footage out of Argentina shows a bizarre looking creature that almost resembles like a mix of a horse and a dog wandering the streets, and it had people scared. Like, it looks like a dog for sure, but an absolutely massive sized one, like bigger than me. I'm talking like Marmaduke size, as hard as that is to imagine. This strange creature was said to have savagely attacked at 2 dogs, fatally injuring a pit bull and a German shepherd, so whatever it is, we know it is angry. Chupacabras typically tend to stick to goats as their favorite prey. I mean, their name almost literally translates to goat sucker, and when you learn that about them, they become infinitely less scary. The clip was fairly popular, garnering nearly 400,000 views on YouTube, and if you ask me, it definitely looks like a Chupacabra to me. The Chupacabra is one that, I don't know, every couple years something will come out about it. Someone will discover a weird dog and get a video of it, and most time it just ends up being a coyote missing fur with mange or something, but hey, goats keep going missing, keep showing up sucked out of all their blood, so maybe there really are Chupacabras hiding out there, or maybe I just need to believe that they exist.
In 5th place, we have an exorcism filmed through a peephole. So it's no secret that exorcisms are still a practice done today, but the Catholic Church really likes pretending that they don't because of the negativity around it. Technically speaking, the Catholic Church authorizes the use of exorcism for those who are believed to be the victims of demonic possession. Specifically, in Roman Catholicism, which is what I grew up with, exorcism is a sacramental but not a sacrament, so unlike baptism, confirmation, first communion, or confession. Unlike a sacrament, exorcisms depend on 2 elements: authorization from valid and legitimate church authorities and the faith of the exorcist. The church will ask publicly and authoritatively in the name of Jesus Christ that a person or object be protected against the power of the evil one and withdrawn from his dominion. Now, the rite of exorcism was revised in January of 1999, making it a lot less Latin, and assumes that, possessed persons retain their free will, although the demon may hold control over their physical body, and involves prayers, blessings, and invocations with the use of the document of exorcisms and certain supplications. Typically, the individual will be restrained, and the priest will perform a ritual of prayers to remove the evil spirits. Solemn exorcisms, according to the canon law of the church, can be exercised only by an ordained priest or higher, with the express permission of the local bishop, and only after a careful medical examination to exclude the possibility of mental illness. The Catholic Church has between 500 to 600 official exorcists, with the vast majority operating in Latin America and Eastern Europe. Now that we're all clear on the formal definition of exorcisms, time to dive into this lovely 2014 video. The ritual was captured on camera by a man who heard the shrieks of the woman inside the sanctuary and filmed it through the peephole of a door. The incident occurred at the Assumption of the Virgin Mary Church in Vranov, Najijai, in February of 2014. The church's priest, Marek Dunda, confirmed the video is real, but only said that if something is filmed through a keyhole, there's nothing more to say about it. Which is a dodging the question kind of answer if I've ever heard one. He told the newspaper he was talking to that he carries a mandate from his bishop to perform exorcisms, and also said that the group were asking God to protect and to liberate the person, including using a Latin prayer asking for help and, Of course it helps. Pardon me. I'm no expert on exorcism rituals yet, but if you have to state that something of course helps, in my personal experience, it's a smidge sketchy. It's very hard to tell what is happening in the video, but it appears that at least 2 people surround the woman, who can be heard screaming in agony with momentary pauses in between for the duration of the, just under 2-minute long video. Daniel Trokta, who, shot the video after hearing the screams, warns people in the description to watch the chilling footage while wearing headphones, which is what I did. When asked about the condition of the woman in the video, the priest said any details about her or her state were private, and while I'm glad the church is respecting her privacy, I hope that the poor woman has been cured and healed. As much as I joke about it, demonic possession is no pleasant or laughing matter. In 4th place, we have footage from 2020. Okay, before anyone out there panics, I'm talking about the American News magazine that's been, broadcasted on TV since June of 1978. Not the awful year in recent history that we're not going to talk about, because that was awful. On April 5th of 1991, the show featured a segment that showed an actual Roman Catholic ritual of casting out demons, videotaped at a nun's home in suburban Palm Beach County. The segment shows the affected girl, referred to only as Gina, as she thrashes under the effect of ancient prayers, is sprinkled with holy water, and, has a cross being pressed to her head. Common stuff. The girl retches, writhes, yowls, and bares her teeth. She says, "Get out of here! Me not want to leave!" shrieking all this at the priest, as one hand snaps the gauze bonds tying her to the chair. By the way, apparently if the exorcism team hadn't tied her down, she might have levitated to the ceiling. How very Willy Wonka. At the time, the March 25th issue of US News and World Report carried no fewer than 5 articles on hell and the devil, citing a poll that 6 out of 10 Americans believed in the netherworld, which is 2% more than in the church heyday of the 1950s. Another poll, released in August of the same year, said 55% of Americans believe in the devil and 49% in demonic possession. I'd love to see those results today, but I couldn't find them sadly. Most Catholic leaders say possession is rare, with Reverend Kenneth Doyle, communications director for the National Conference of Catholic Bishops, stating he's only heard of about a handful of exorcisms in the last 40 years, but I feel like that's just a PR statement. Here's the thing. When churchmen do perform an exorcism, they almost never talk about it. The main exorcist in this entire report is known only as Father A, and his face is kind of obscured. Sister Lois Schaefer and the Reverend Walton Dockerell of St. Rita Parish near West Palm Beach, who took part in the exorcism, said through a secretary that, no comment. Palm Beach Bishop J. Keith Simons, who permitted the taping, issued only a 4-paragraph statement, saying that the devil really exists, he is powerful and actively at work in the world today, as through the centuries, which echoes what Cardinal John O'Connor of New York said. Now, it was O'Connor's remark that there can be no question about the reality of the devil that initially drew the interest of 2020, especially after the church got about 75 requests from around the country to investigate possible cases of possession. That job fell to the Reverend James LeBar, a specialist in the occult, who looked into some of the initial claims and decided that Gina in South Florida was genuinely being tormented by demons. According to the report, she experienced psychotic episodes, plus visions of demons and dead persons. Oh, I don't wish that on anybody. Her mother says she tried visits to a spiritist and to various hospitals, and in the footage, the priests say the girl is controlled by 10 evil spirits. They meet her violent reactions by following the prayers and the gestures of the rite. The ordeal took about 6 hours, and this isn't really uncommon for exorcism lengths. Before the procedure even took place, Father A mentioned how it's a terrifying experience at times, and that he, could die tomorrow, or be attacked and taken over. Evil spirits like to take their time leaving a body, and not without a fight, and that leaves all of the parties involved extremely drained and exhausted, and vulnerable. Also quoted is Dr. Warren Schlanger of Miami Children's Hospital, where Gina was treated before and after the exorcism, and he did note that her condition improved afterwards. Father A, though, is still troubled. He believes the devil is disturbing his sleep, attempting to weaken and destroy him. He counts that as the price he must pay as a church point man against demons. Now, I know, someone's about to ask, but Alexa, didn't you say you'd be talking about hidden footage? The church tried taking this footage down from the internet because they didn't want it to be public anymore, but thankfully they haven't succeeded. In 3rd place, we have the director of The Exorcist. Now, unlike the last 2 mentions, this footage is missing and locked up, never to be seen. The director of The Exorcist has mentioned in interviews that he was allowed to film a real exorcism at the Vatican, of all places. William Friedkin said he was taken aback at how close the ceremony was to the exorcism depicted in his 1973 film. He said that he doesn't think he will ever be the same after seeing this astonishing thing. Now, he says he intended to shoot The Exorcist as a horror film, but the more he learned it, the more it became a supernatural tale instead. So while the book this was all based on a 1949 case of an American teenager called Roland, Friedkin said the Catholic Archdiocese of Washington, D.C. asked him to change the gender so as to, not draw attention to the young man. But in reality, the director said that it was a young man of 14 and not a gal who was allegedly possessed. Now, the Vatican did not immediately respond to a request for comment. And still has not as of this day. The church asking someone to hide something and then not commenting on it. I'd say I'm shocked, but I made a promise to myself to never lie on here, and I'm not about to start doing that today. Friedkin said he believed the boy was genuinely possessed, convinced that there was no other explanation. He read the diaries of not only the priest involved in the exorcism, but the doctors, the nurses, and the patients at Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis, where this original case was carried out. He's also stated that he's not Catholic, doesn't go to church, or belong to a church or a synagogue. Make of that what you will. In second place, we have the exorcism of a satanic queen. This tale in particular comes from Dr. Richard Gallagher, who is an Ivy League educated, board-certified psychiatrist, and who performed a mental health evaluation on our sad woman to make sure it wasn't, an instance of something that could be helped with modern medicine first and foremost. He described her as a middle-aged woman who wore flowing dark clothes and black eyeshadow, and while she was charming and engaging, she was also part of a satanic cult. This is where I swear I'm not part of a satanic cult, even though that visually fits my aesthetic. She called herself the queen of the cult, but Gallagher would refer to her as Julia, the pseudonym he gave her. The woman had approached her local priest and was convinced she was being attacked by a demon. The priest referred her to an exorcist who reached out to Gallagher for, a mental health evaluation. It was one of the first cases he took, and apparently it changed him. So he helped assemble an exorcism team that met Julia in the chapel of a house. He was adamant that objects would fly off shelves around her, and she somehow knew personal details about him, such as how his mother had died of ovarian cancer, and that the two cats in his house went berserk fighting each other the night before one of her sessions. She even found a way to reach him even when she wasn't with him. One night he was talking on the phone with Julia's priest when he says both men heard one of the demonic voices that came from Julia during her trances, even though she was nowhere near a phone and thousands of miles away. He and a team of exorcists paid her many visits, but eventually she called a halt to the sessions. She was too ambivalent and relished some of the abilities she displayed during her trances. About a year after she dropped out, Gallagher says that he heard Julia's voice on the phone again. This time though, she had called to tell him that she was passing of cancer, and he offered to try and help her with a team of priests while she was still physically able, but her response was vague, and sadly she passed before he was able to help further. Now, while Gallagher has taped all footage of his work, he has been forbidden by the church to release any of it. Ergo, sorry folks, I got nothing. In first place, we have Ed and Lorraine Warren exorcism footage. Me talking about Ed and Lorraine Warren? I know, a shocker. While the video is blurred on YouTube to protect the identity of the poor girl, I personally think it's up there as one of the most frightening things I've ever seen. At an hour and 20 minutes long, it depicts a Catholic bishop in Connecticut attempting to converse with a demonic entity that has possessed the body of an innocent young woman while her family restrains her. Ed and Lorraine were the ones to alert the church to the possession after meeting her during an audience chat session that was held at the conclusion of one of their public presentations. During portions of the exorcism, when prayer is done, you can hear the demon acting wildly, and it originally refuses to give its name, both of which are quite common in cases of demonic possession. Eventually we learn that there are 4 demons possessing our victim, with one of them identifying themselves as Robert, a name associated with the son of Satan. I'll let a snippet roll now, allowing you to hear the woman for yourself. This footage was unreleased until after the passing of Ed and Lorraine, and it's believed that they were told by the Catholic Church to specifically keep it under wraps, but their son-in-law doesn't have the same fear or respect for the church, depending on one's opinion.
Number 5 on this list is the reversed demon. This demon clearly took some gymnastic classes when they were alive as a person, because they're definitely flexing their flexibility muscles now in the demon afterlife. The clips that I'm about to show you were posted to the YouTube channel Kisa Weba. They were captured by a security camera and show a demon slowly crawling across the ground. So as we can see, that demon is just slowly meandering along, minding its own business. Now, you may think that this is the end of the story, but it's actually not, because that thing was caught on another security camera in the area a little bit later. Let's take a look at that. Now what on God's green earth is that freaking thing? I mean, it has to be a demon, right? Like, what the hell? Its face is clearly all white, completely inhuman. And now that we can fully see the way that it walks, we get a clear sense of how demonic it actually is. I think the biggest question that comes up through all of this, though, is what is it doing And where's it going? Fingers crossed that whatever it was doing doesn't concern any one of us. Number 4 on this list is Cubaev Square. Back in 2015, a video was uploaded to YouTube from an account named Demon Operator. The video is only 50 seconds long and shows someone getting chased by a demon or monster in Cubaev Square. Let's roll 30 seconds of that clip and see what you guys think about this demon. So the man gets into the park, and just to the left of him is this completely demonic looking spider creature. It's slow out of the gate, but then it starts coming after him. The final 10 seconds of the video is going to show this thing get really close to him and then spit what looks to be some green toxic fluid out at him. Let's roll that now. So yeah, let's put it this way. Whatever this thing was, it definitely isn't human or any sort of animal that we're aware of. Now, can I say for sure that it's a demon? No, I can't, but I can say that it definitely looks very dangerous. Watch your back, everybody. This thing came after this dude in broad daylight in the park. Number 5 on this list is a story from a man named Ryan Eastaugh. Ryan doesn't live there anymore, but he used to live in Bermuda, and that's where his demonic encounter took place. He was young at the time that he got his message, only 9 years old at that time, still living at home with his parents. One evening when he was lying in bed, he found it extremely hard to go to sleep, which was strange because he was a 9-year-old and usually he got into bed and slept like a baby. But he remembers that night that he couldn't sleep because he felt a strange sense of foreboding. Like that strange feeling like something's going to happen, or that you forgot something. You aren't prepared for something, a general sense of anxiety. He lay awake in his bed, staring up at the ceiling until he started to feel cold. A sudden chill immediately in the air. He said that it felt as if the room dropped by about 20 degrees. Scared and cold, Ryan wrapped himself in his blankets as tightly as he could. It was at this point though that the ceiling started to morph. The shadows turned into the walls of the ceiling and it started moving in unsettling ways as if something was coming out at him. The shadows formed what looked to be a dark, devilish complexion, but it kept moving so that it was never one thing for very long. Petrified and frozen where he was, Ryan could only stare up at the ceiling and hope that it didn't hurt him. The shadowy face was fixated on Ryan and held him down with its stare. Then, from apparently nothing, the shadowy ceiling figure said, and Ryan remembers these words to this day, "Next time will be the last time." And that was it. The demon left, the chill in the air disappeared, and Ryan was left in his bed alone. He obviously told his parents about it, but they didn't believe him, saying that it was probably a nightmare. The thing about Ryan's story though, is that after a while, he wasn't scared of these words, but actually thankful. If next time will be the last time, then I better make that time pretty freaking great. Whatever that may be in reference to. Now he's a man and leads a successful life, living with the mentality that today could be his last day, so I better make it bloody awesome. Number 4 is from a woman named Kimberly Hagen. She had a run-in with a demon in a very old apartment building that she used to live in. Now, Kimberly occasionally dabbled with a spirit box and tried to communicate with past loved ones. It seems like this wasn't the proper location to do that though, because during this process, she awakened a demon. She says that at nighttime her bed would shake, and she would be woken up to a nasty, dark, crow-like voice. The voice would speak to her and tell her some very nasty things, often saying that nobody loved her and that she was better off dead. It also tried to spark some unhealthy addictions. Kimberly said that she used to drink a lot to the point that she was ruining her life. However, after some solid rehabilitation, she managed to get clean. This demonic voice would continually tempt her with alcohol, telling her that she's better off drunk. Basically, any negative thought or habit you can think of, this voice would echo it to Kimberly in her apartment. She tried to go to spiritualists and seek their advice, ask them if there's anything that she could do to fend off this demon or get rid of it from her home. They tried a few different things, but nothing seemed to work or keep it out for good. After a few months of living like this, she couldn't take it anymore and she had to move and leave the demon behind her. She feels bad for whoever moved in after her, but at the end of the day, She had to look out for her own well-being. Number 3 on this list is from a woman named Bianca. In 2013, Bianca was living in New York City. This was before the days that Uber was a thing, so taxis were still the way to go. One Saturday morning, Bianca was on her way to meet her friends for brunch across town. She hailed a taxi and got in. The person driving was an elderly man who, based on his accent, sounded pretty Italian. They shared a decent conversation with one another right up until the intersection of 18th and 65th. The light was out here and there was a buildup of traffic. This was also a special intersection to Bianca because it was at 65th and 18th that her father got hit by a car and died 7 years prior. Then all of a sudden at this intersection, in the monotony of the traffic, time slowed down. The car slowed, the sound slowed, everything got slower. It felt to Bianca like she just entered the movie Inception and she was in some dreamlike state. The old Italian man's head then swiveled around without the rest of his body moving. His face wasn't his actual face though. It was the face of her dead father. Absolutely stunned, Bianca started to tear up and was completely shell-shocked. Her father's face looked at her and said, "Bianca, move. Hell is not your fate, but you must move." The face turned back around and time started up again. Everything exactly how it was a minute ago. The Italian man's face, everything, the cars, all of it. Absolutely bawling though, Bianca got out of the car and had to throw up. She couldn't go to her brunch and she had to go home, walking the entire way. To this day, she doesn't know whether it was a demon, the ghost of her father, or what it was, but it shook her to her core, and she's never gone near that intersection or taken a taxi ever again. Number 2 on this list is a story posted 4 years ago by a man named Donald Wesson. Donald recounts how several years ago he was 11 years old and he had a friend named Ashley. Ashley had recently moved to his town from Wisconsin. She left Wisconsin initially though due to a pretty bad tragedy that occurred to her family. Her house caught on fire and her mother and sister both didn't make it out alive. Only her father, and her brother survived. This obviously created for a pretty rough upbringing, but Ashley as a whole was still a pretty nice girl and wasn't as damaged as some may suspect. Donald says though that he started to notice that when she came to school, she would have red marks on her ankles and her lower legs. He thought that maybe she could be getting abused at home, but after meeting her father and brother realized quickly that that wasn't the case. One evening when he was over at Ashley's with another friend named Eli, they were all having a sleepover. They went to bed and roughly 10 minutes into going to sleep, Ashley got up out of bed and went down the stairs. She was gone for about 15 minutes, and both of the boys roused themselves out of curiosity. They were going to go downstairs to check on her when she appeared in the doorway. She was holding a large butcher knife in her hands. Both Donald and Eli started to freak out a little bit and started trying to get Ashley's attention. But rather than show them any interest at all, Ashley takes the knife and starts stabbing the wall, chanting out some strange language as she does it. Scared for their safety, Eli starts to bawl, but this grabs Ashley's attention. She drops the knife and gets down on all fours and rapidly crawls to Eli. Donald very quickly kicks the demon that used to be his friend right in the face and grabs Eli and runs out of the house. They wait outside the home for roughly 20 minutes, but nobody comes after them. Then, very carefully, they head back inside, and Ashley is now fast asleep where she was before. Apparently, Ashley has no memory of that experience at all. I suppose this story was less about a message and more just about a scary run-in. However, actions speak louder than words, and I think that those actions were saying to get out. Now, number 1 is actually a story from a viewer that commented on the first part of this video. The viewer's name is Anna Kelly, so shout out to you, Anna. Thank you for commenting. Now, I do want to warn you guys, this story, from my understanding, is about the Incubus demon, so it's not pretty. Anna writes, "This happened in 2008, and I still remember every terrible detail. I'd just gotten into bed and covered with a sheet when I heard a noise at the foot of the bed, the right corner. The mattress made a creaking sound, like it does when somebody climbs into bed. I looked, but saw nothing, but I felt it crawling closer. I closed my eyes tightly, hoping that it would go away. Then, I felt the sheet being pulled off of my body. I opened my eyes, and I saw the sheet being pulled by nothing. Then, the putrid smell of sulfur and rotten flesh hit my nose. It was gag-inducing. It could singe the hairs in your nostrils. Then, I saw it. It was in the form of a male, so I'll just call it he. Anyway, he was 7 feet tall and massive with 3 arms and 2 legs. His skin looked like layers of charred bits. He had only a few sprigs of coarse-looking brittle hair. His teeth were pointed and slimy, and his breath was a lot worse close up. He had no eyes, just black holes. I looked into those black holes. All of a sudden, all my emotions left me. I felt like nothing. I can't explain what it feels like to feel nothing. Then I felt the heavy weight of him on me. He pinned my arms at my sides. He put one claw-like hand over my mouth and said in an evil growl, "No one will hear you scream. No one can help you now." I found that I couldn't make any noise at all. I don't need to go into too much detail about what happened next, but it felt very cold and unforgiving. Well, the next morning when I got out of bed, I noticed my inner thighs were very sore, and there were red scratch marks on them. No human could leave those kinds of scratches with their nails. And it wasn't me. I'm a nail biter, nasty habit, I know. But that's the one and only time I've been attacked like that. It was my fault though. I have a heart necklace that I wanted to use to see if anyone passed away in my apartment. I let the necklace hang and went through the alphabet. It would be stiff as a board, but when I got to the letter J, it started moving. Clockwise, I think. Anyway, it spelled out Joanne. I was attacked not long after messing around with that stupid junk. I figured at least it wasn't a Ouija board. It took me a while, but with prayer and faith, I was able to cast out those evil things. Of course, there are still many other demons slithering around us in this world, and some target me for a different reason, though now I know how to fight them. And after that attack, I will not allow any conjuring items, tarot cards, crystals, etc. in my home. I definitely do not want to go through that ever again. No one should have to do that. And no, you are absolutely right. Nobody should ever have to go through that. That is quite the story. Anna, all I can say is that I really appreciate you feeling comfortable with sharing that.
Number 5, a gnome? Is a gnome a demon? I don't know, I find most gnomes benevolent, actually, but they could be. Our next clip looks like something out of the start of a low-budget horror movie, bit of an A24 vibe. I started watching this clip, and then as soon as it got going, I literally pressed my nose to my computer screen, so I hope you do the same. The clip was posted to the subreddit r/humanoid encounters. I definitely recommend it if you're into this sort of thing. There's a lot of really good humanoid encounters on there. And the poster explained that this has happened to their relatives, but they don't know what's going on. What we can see in the clip is bizarre. Someone is outside on their front porch, shining a light into the darkness, trying to find what is stalking them on their property. It can be a little hard to see, but behind the big rock, we see what looks like teeny tiny little hands peering out, trying not to be seen, playing a little game of know me hide and seek. Now, it can be hard to make out what exactly is going on in this clip, but it almost seems too like there might be more than one of those little creepy crawlers wiggling around back there. Now, the original poster suggested that these creatures are indigenous folklore of little people, which I think this is pretty interesting. Is a myth that is almost ubiquitous across the globe. Pretty much every people's, Ireland, Greece, the Philippines, New Zealand, Indonesia, and so many more, all have stories of gnomes or elves or little mischievous people creeping about in the night. I just find it interesting that the whole planet all has that myth. Are they all wrong, or are gnomes real? Now, to put on our Scully hat for a second, get a little dowdy, this could extremely easily be somebody playing along for a prank, or someone just hiding behind a rock playing with a doll, poking it out. The only evidence we have that this is a gnome is OP's word that they swear this is a close family member and they wouldn't do this sort of thing. And you can go through the YouTube channel, you see it's mostly just family videos, so that does make sense. So I toss it over to you, my beloved YouTube commenter gang. You guys keep me young. I love those comments. Little people creeping around, or is this just a tall tale? Woof. I spent all night working on that pun. And if you're looking for more videos of ghosts and goblins and gnomes with this guy talking over them, I've got lots of that for you on our channel. Hit subscribe so you don't miss any of it. Make sure you ring that bell so you doubly don't miss any of it. But if you really cared about me, no, I'm not saying you do. You do it at the end of this video so you can watch all the other demons caught on camera first, because I got 4 more coming. Number 4, Dogman. Coming up next is this clip that was making the rounds around the spookier sides of the internet of an Instagram user going live. The user was complaining that he'd seen something strange earlier in the day, referring to a dogman that he thought he had seen. Now, that is different from a werewolf. A dogman is a fairly popular cryptid that gets mentioned every now and again, kind of like a goatman or a mothman deal. It's like a bipedal wolf, but it's not a werewolf, okay? If you think it's a werewolf, that's a different thing. Anyway, this guy was talking on live and heard something strange outside and went to go check. Let's go with him and let's go watch the clip. Now we can roll it again if you didn't see it, but at around a minute into the clip, when the user going live hears something strange and goes in to check on what it was, we see something rush by, if only for a second, that does not look like it's from this world at all. Looks like a tall creature running by on its hind legs, and I know it does give off a werewolfy vibe. I get it. It looks like a werewolf. I get it, but it's a dog man. It's totally different. I don't have the time to explain the difference, but a dog man and a werewolf are totally different. Now here's the thing. Either this video is one of the best fakes I've ever seen, and I watch a ton of supernatural videos, so I like to think I got an eye for it. It's got a great budget and actor who really knows how to sell a scare, or this is something that actually happened to a real terrified guy. It being on Instagram Live gives it a little bit more credibility, you know? It's harder to fake things in camera on live. It doesn't really seem like someone in a costume, it just looks like it was a dog man caught on camera. Okay, so realist, Scully mode, I don't know if I have one. Molder mode, that's a dog man. That's a dog man all the way down. Why don't you all let me know down below what we think is going on down there, and also if you have some insight on the werewolf dogman debate, lend a hand. I'm fighting a losing battle here. Number 3, strange things in Montana. Montana is sometimes called the treasure state. All the gold and silver that have been uncovered there, and also for lesser reasons for all the wild cryptid stories that come out of it. For seekers of the supernatural, Montana is a treasure trove, a real treasure state. Now, Deer Lodge is a city in Montana, and it's purported to be a hotbed of supernatural occurrences. Rumored to be home to creatures that defy classification and scientific convention and avoid the trail cams. Until recently, a local rancher from Deer Lodge caught something bizarre on his land when something tripped the motion sensor on his trail camera. Now the black and white footage shows a blindingly bright glowing humanoid with what looks like an oversized and oblong head walking bizarrely in front of the camera. My first thought is that Simpsons episode has Mulder and Scully guest starring. The Simpsons episode with Mulder and Scully where Mr. Burns is glowing green through the woods. That's what I'm thinking of when I see this. Now this trail cam was miles away from any roads or trails, so there shouldn't be anybody creeping around. But there is. The rancher returned to the site of the photo and stood in the same spot and tried to mimic the composition of what he saw. When he posed himself against and compared the other image, he came out looking pretty human, compared to the sort of odd alien proportions of the glowing being, which also happened to be devoid of any features. So what was it? Now some believe it to be extraterrestrial life, popular. The show Ancient Aliens, the most reputable name in alien news, took the trail camera footage to analyze for authentication. No alterations, manipulations, inconsistencies were discovered of any kind. Well, I don't know what's going on in there. Others wondered if perhaps the creature could be a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or maybe even some other manner of currently undiscovered or unknown cryptid we don't even know about. This could be a first contact scenario. So what do you think was caught on this trail cam? An alien? A Sasquatch? Something dreadfully normal? We may never know, but it's fun to theorize. Number 2. The Sadako trampoline. Have you ever seen The Ring? Or perhaps the original, Ringu? Probably not, because if you saw The Ring, you would have died roughly 7 days after that, and then you wouldn't be able to watch all of these lovely videos on Top 5 Scary, and I'd miss you too much. The Japanese original is one of my favorite horror movies ever, which you probably notice if you watch this channel a lot, because I crowbar references in to Sadako roughly 3 times a week in these videos. Not my fault, she's the definitive ghost girl. Love her in Dead by Daylight, big fan of her. I can't think of many things I've seen in my life half as creepy as that image of Sadako stretching herself out of the TV into the real world, the greasy, long, stringy black hair over her pallid face. Oh, well, exactly for what happens in this next clip, which is just as terrifying. Take a look. At first, it seems like someone filming some summer fun, until you get a better look at what appears to be a figure clad all in white, crawling out from under the trampoline, looking a lot like Sadako crawling out of that TV. Definitely has me scratching my head watching over again. Now, not everyone is as convinced as your easily convinced crypt keeper. One commenter on the video attempted to debunk it as a fake, lending a little bit of insight as a video editor. They said, I'll guess that the ghost figure is a clip of someone standing up, which has been motion tracked and composited in with blurring and opacity. If the shot was stabilized, like I'm guessing it was, this would be fairly straightforward and easy. The camera shake could be added in digitally after the motion tracking is done to really sell the shot. I noticed a blur on what looks like the ghost's back as it stands up, and the jumper's leg passes over the figure, and this blur is whipped away. The clip stops as the figure is moving above the black netting, which is being used to conceal any editing artifacts. Well, okay, so it sounds like they know a lot about video editing, infinitely more than I do, and that's all well and reasonable, but could also be a ghost. Who's faking ghost videos? That's too much time in the day to be faking ghost videos. Number 1, the Jersey Devil. The infamous Jersey Devil is said to haunt the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. There are a ton of spins and variations on its origins, and if you're really curious, search Jersey Devil on our channel, nobody else's, okay? Don't need anybody else taking all those views. There's tons and tons of stories about it, but one of the most famous variations is that at a place called Leeds Point, during a thunderstorm in 1735, a Quaker woman gave birth. As the room flickered with light, the wind howled, and the poor mother who'd already raised 12 infants gave birth to the 13th. Now, some say the 13th was cursed by the devil. Some say she cursed it herself. But the story goes that this 13th child would not emerge normal, but with winged shoulders, a horse's head, cloven feet, and a wretched tail. It would soar out into the night, casting itself in the annals of folklore as the Jersey Devil. Now, over the years, there have been tons of sightings of the alleged Jersey Devil. At one point during the early 20th century, sightings would get posted in the hundreds in local newspapers. Now, our local newspapers don't reference cryptids as much as they used to. I'd like us to get back to that. But what we do have is TikTok capturing it, the modern day newspaper. Take a look at this wild footage that has been going viral across TikTok and Instagram. We see the horrific creature perched, and yeah, I'm not in the business of patronizing you. This is a CGI creature. It's impressively rendered, and they did a good job editing into the scene, but that background isn't Jersey, for starters. The problem is they made this look too good. The creature is too well modeled and animated in a broad daylight setting. You know, a really good cryptid fake would have had the camera a lot grainier and blurrier, and I personally would have set it somewhere a little more rural, a little more farmlandy, foresty, but it's entertaining nonetheless, right?
Coming in at number 5, we've got Elizabeth Knapp. Granted, around the time of the Salem witch trials, a lot of things may have been interpreted as demonic or paranormal when they shouldn't have been. Just take a look at all of the people accused of witchcraft for patently non-witchy things and you'll see what I'm saying. If someone weighed the same as a duck, that means she's also made of wood. And people burn wood, but people also burn witches, right? I'm getting away from the topic at hand, sorry. 20 years before the start of the Salem witch trials, there was a young woman working for Samuel Willard, a somewhat prominent reverend in Massachusetts. That girl was named Elizabeth Knapp, and she may have been possessed by a demon. A little odd considering the holy nature of the man she worked for, but that's how the story goes. One October, Elizabeth started to complain of pains all throughout her body, ones that couldn't really be explained. As time went on, these pains increased in frequency and intensity, so she went to the Reverend. She told him that she would often convulse uncontrollably and had many fits of screaming and crying for no apparent reason. It even felt like she was being strangled by an unknown, unseeable force. Needless to say, these behaviors concerned the Reverend. Eventually, Elizabeth told the Reverend that her ailments all began when she made a deal with the devil. Classic. She somehow got in touch with this underworld overlord and exchanged her soul for eternal youth and exorbitant sums of money. Once these admissions were made, things got much worse. Elizabeth would speak in a terrifying, distorted voice, and it often appeared that the devil was speaking through her. Her body would contort in such violent and grotesque ways that it took multiple people to hold her down. In addition to all of that, her throat also swole up like a balloon, which couldn't have been very comfortable. Unfortunately, nobody really knows what happened to this poor young lass. In the Reverend's journals, all sorts of demonic experiences were detailed, but he eventually conceded that he wasn't quite sure what to do with the girl. He didn't know what exactly was happening to her, but he could tell that the things going on weren't voluntary. Whatever demonic presence had overtaken Elizabeth Knapp was determined to stick around and prevent anyone else from ruining its fun. Coming in at number 4, we've got Bobby Jindal. Most of the time, American politicians don't have too many dealings with the devil. Well, not publicly anyways, it would ruin their reputation. However, this former governor of Louisiana says he found himself face to face with a demon and even wrote an article about his experience. that's gutsy for sure, especially for a guy who would eventually run for public office and win. Well, it sort of came back and bit him in the ass because he likely could have run for vice president alongside Mitt Romney. And looking back, it becomes increasingly apparent that his dealings with demons put a big hole in his VP aspirations. But enough political talk, let's get to the demon. In his article titled Beating a Demon, Physical Dimensions of Spiritual Warfare, published in the New Oxford Review, Jindal describes his attempts to exorcise a demon from his pal Susan. Poor Susan. Apparently, the undergraduate was undergoing treatment for her cancer at the time, and some of the effects made Jindal suspect there might be a demon present. He and a bunch of other Christian college students banded together to perform an impromptu exorcism. They had contacted a preacher to preside over the proceedings, but this holy man told them to hold off on the exorcism. In his article, Jindal questions whether the preacher simply did not want to come over to a college dorm, or if he was worried about the demon potentially being too powerful. In the end, the group of students went through with it, holding Susan down as best they could as she struggled and attempted to escape. Eventually, a student from a rival Christian college organization burst in with a crucifix, and this seemed to work on the demon. When they read Bible verses aloud, Susan screamed profanities and questioned the value of the religion. However, in between these supposedly demonic outbursts, Susan also showed her true face, begging to be rescued from her possessor. In the end, the demon was said to be removed, and Susan was able to return to life as normal. However, Jindal's eventual political aspirations would be cut short thanks to this demonic possession. One has to wonder what would possess him to write his experiences so plainly. Coming in at number 3, we've got Michael Taylor. This case is a peculiar one indeed. Back in the 70s, Michael Taylor was working as a butcher in West Yorkshire. He and his wife had recently joined a Christian fellowship group, which Taylor took very seriously. A little too seriously, perhaps, as he soon began engaging in what his wife describes as carnal relations with the leader of the fellowship group, Mary Robinson. This didn't sit well with his wife, so she called it out in front of the rest of the group's members. Most people would probably yell something rude and profane and then slink away in embarrassment, but Michael Taylor, he claimed that he'd been feeling evil inside of him and got really mad at Robinson. After this, he requested an absolution but continued to act strangely. This behavior encouraged a local vicar to seek out external help, so he brought in a couple of ministers to assist with an exorcism. This demonic expulsion went on overnight and supposedly removed over 40 demons from Taylor. However, they didn't get them all. The ministers said that 3 demons still remained inside: insanity, murder, and violence. You can probably see where this is going. After this all-night affair, Michael Taylor returned home. During his time there, he ended his wife's life and strangled their pet dog. He was found wandering the streets in a daze covered in blood. Adultery, insanity, then violence. Those must have been some serious demons. Either that or Taylor just wanted out of his marriage, but couldn't think of a better way to go about it. Coming in at number 2, we've got George Lukens, not to be confused with George Lucas. Of all the times one could get possessed by a demon, you would think that a Christmas pageant would be pretty low on the list, you know, celebrating the birth of the holiest of holy figures and all. But poor George Lukens, he couldn't catch a break. He'd been performing at his local pageant and seemed to fall over for no reason. According to Lukens, it wasn't too much eggnog that did it. It was a supernatural force that slapped him, knocking him to the ground. In the following years, Lukens developed a seemingly incurable condition that doctors couldn't explain. He could though, and he said that it was demons. Multiple presences attempting to take over his body. When doctors gave up on curing him, a priest stepped in. He performed an exorcism on Lukens, which became quite the public event. Folks from all over came to see how it was going, and many reported a very disturbing scene, including Lukens claiming that he was the devil, becoming violent, and even barking like a dog. After all this though, Lukens seemed to be cured. The priest said that he sent the demons back to hell and that Lukens was a God-loving person once more. And finally at number 1, we've got Clara Germani. If nuns are getting tossed around like rag dolls, it's time to investigate what's going on. And this is exactly the case when it comes to this South African possession. 16-year-old Clara Germani had supposedly made a pact with the devil and used her newfound abilities for evil. She made animalistic noises that chilled the bones of all who could hear them and gained supernatural supernatural strength. At one point, she even levitated off the ground, only to be brought back by splashes of holy water. Folks aren't exactly sure why she made this deal, but when a 16-year-old starts throwing nuns across the room, you don't try to get to the root of the problem, you try to stop it immediately. The exorcism was a grueling 2-day ordeal in which Clara attempted to suffocate the priest multiple times. She spoke languages she couldn't possibly have been familiar with and projected a terrifying demonic voice. Eventually, the demon was exorcised, but nobody involved would ever be the same again.
Coming in at number 5, we have Will That Be Our Train? This entity was captured during an investigation at an abandoned train station. They stated that only male investigators were present, but the voice heard is clearly female. They also mentioned the incredible power of the entity, as she was able to be heard above the sound of the passing train. As the train passes, she appears to say, "Will that be our train?" Her accent and way of speaking does not match present-day dialect. Could this place be a window to another realm or universe, or maybe the other side? It's unclear where the voice came from, but it is rare to capture something so clear and so powerful. Coming in at number 4, we have The Wandering Soul. This tape is extremely unsettling. You can hear what appears to be a lost girl shouting for her father at the start of the clip. She sounds lost. She is looking for someone to help her. You can hear other voices around the little girl's screams. They sound like souls in pain, indicating she might be trapped on the other side. Translating the clip, the little girl is asking to go home with her father and begging him to take her with him. It is unclear where the recording came from and who the little girl is within, but it is chilling to listen to. Coming in at number 3, we have Demonic Killer. This recording is from serial slayer The Night Stalker. He is known for his string of breakings and entering and violence between June 1984 and August 1985. He was finally caught and brought to justice, but before he left a chilling message on one of the victim's answering machines after his attack. After listening to the tape, many believe the recording to be cursed. And even worse than that, some believe that the Night Stalker himself was in fact possessed. He often proudly spoke of his devotion to Satan and had performed many satanic rituals. It is easy to believe that he was in fact possessed with all of the horrifying acts that he committed the years before he was caught. Coming in at number 2, we have Terrifying Screams. This recording is introduced by the paranormal investigator who recorded it. It's also stated that this is the most terrifying EVP he has ever heard. He explained that this was recorded in his sister's bedroom. He said that the building he lives in is only around 10 years old and is a nice place. He said his sister has a tendency to attract bad spirits and had been feeling a negative presence from within her bathroom. During the recording, you can hear her baby crying, but all other noises cannot be explained. You can hear a clicking noise playing throughout, but the origin of this noise is unclear. We then hear a horrifying scream. The scream is clear and loud, yet no one in the house was awoken by it. The investigator was led to believe that this was proof that the apartment was in fact haunted by an evil spirit. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Disrupted Radio Station.
Brother William, Jim, May, and Peggy, Father Shirley, Abby, and Josephine. April 1988, Ruth Marnani, wife of Papa, friend of Bob and me. October 1988, Morgan Schunick, father of Barbara, husband of Elsie, Barbara's dad. August 22nd, 1985, Irene Miguel Tutulio.
You're tuned to WKCR.
This unexplained broadcast came from a late-night radio show. As you hear in the start of the recording, the station appears to be playing classical, calming music for its listeners. The song gets interrupted by a loud, high-pitched scream-like noise. Behind the scream, you hear what sounds like whispers of multiple entities. It then goes completely silent for a while before we hear a female-like voice speaking very fast. It is hard to make out exactly what she is saying, but at the end she clearly says August 22nd, 1985. It is unclear when the recording took place, but it is believed to be around 1995. There have been some people who have looked into the recording to try and decipher what it could mean. There have been speculations that the voice is listing off the names and dates of people who died in a plane crash. While researching into if this could be true, I found that there was a plane crash on this date. Air Tour's Boeing 737 crashed into Manchester Airport, killing 55 people. It has long been known you can use radio waves to contact the other side. Could this be someone from the plane crash trying to get through? Coming in at number 5, we have Demon in the Basement. This recording comes from 2007. It took place in a home in Philadelphia. The owners started to notice weird sounds coming from their basement during the night. They decided to investigate the noises by placing recording devices in the basement to hopefully capture the noise and figure out what might be causing it. 3 nights passed and no noise was picked up on the recordings. Then on the 4th night, they captured some very angry sounding audio. People believe these noises were in fact from a demon who was residing in the couple's basement. It appears to be very angry. The noise occurred around 3 AM, which is commonly known as the devil's hour, making this even more chilling. They also included that they found no other evidence as to what was making the noise, so this case remained unsolved. Think if I heard this in my basement, my house would be for sale the next day. Actually, it would probably be in flames. Get a match. That's a lighter. But you get the point. Coming in at number 4, The Exorcism of Anneliese Michel. Anneliese Michel was a German woman who led a tragically short life, later being used for inspiration in the film The Exorcism of Emily Rose. She underwent 67 exorcisms during her 23 years of life. There are numerous recordings and photos from her time being treated. It is believed that she was possessed by Lucifer and various other demons. There are reports that she had violent outbursts, ate insects, and drank her own urine. Her tapes are all in German, but that doesn't take away from the horrifying nature of the recording. What do you think? Does it sound like she was possessed by Lucifer? Her parents and the priest were later charged with neglect for torturing her over the course of 10 months. When she was found dead in her home, her knees were broken and she had starved to death. So sad. In at number 3, we have the Enfield Haunting recordings. The Enfield Haunting took place in Brimsdown, Enfield, London, England between 1977 and 1979, involving 2 sisters aged 11 and 14. I have to say, a lot of these recordings have a lot of superstition and non-believers, but most people who look into the Enfield Haunting can't help but believe it was a demonic possession. The haunting ran throughout the household, chairs moved, children levitated, and then there were the voices. Apparently the 2 girls were both known to speak in voices that resembled something like an old Cockney man.
Janet, Margaret and Betty are all asleep and it's talking. She's sleeping, I'm talking.
People have even commented on how during the recording one girl can be heard with 2 voices at once, something that the young girl would not be able to do herself. It is enough to make the biggest skeptic a believer, and of course, it was the inspiration for The Conjuring 2, which was arguably the superior Conjuring movie. Fight me. Coming in at number 2, we have The Demonic Person. This recording takes place while a pastor was attempting to cast out a demon from a woman. The woman describes what it is like in hell. She is clearly distressed and asking for forgiveness to cast out the demon. The video itself comes with a warning that the woman was rescued just in time, but not everyone will be as fortunate. There are Bible passages before the audio plays to try and protect those listening from the demon who inhabits the woman.
You don't like nobody?
Oh, I hate everybody. I hate everybody. I hate everybody.
Why? We ain't done it to you. We ain't done it to you. Why you hate us?
Because
why?
Because you guys are just, you get to go to heaven. I just hate you people.
Well, you were in heaven once. You could have stayed. Why didn't you stay?
Oh, that thing.
You can hear the pain in the woman's voice and the torture she is feeling. If you can listen until the end of the recording, you are braver than most, but you're not braver than me, because I'm the bravest. That's a lie. It's a lie, lie, lie. And finally, in at number 1, we have Siberian Sounds of Hell. This sound, broadcast during 2002 on Coast to Coast Art Bell radio show, was taken during a Siberian exhibition. It is claimed that during a deep drilling experiment, these sounds were captured from the depths of hell. You can hear screams of pain and torture during the recording. The girl who submitted the sound asked that a warning always be given before they play the recording, as it has bothered her since first listening to it when she was younger.
It is true, and I, for one, wish it wasn't. And I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Fucking freaky. Those are the sounds in my head. Ah, you know?